Good day, my friends. It's always a pleasure to spend some time with you. And I know everything is busy and crazy out there. I'd have more time to spend with you, but the world is crazy. So I hope I'm giving you enough information through these videos to be very helpful to you. Each and every one of you are on your own individual journeys. And you want to, it's up to you, of course, as an individual, but as you can look around this world, it's not a real happy place. There's a lot of disciplines being learned, and just a lot of this is where you learn. These are the grades. This is how we look at education, grades 1 through whatever. That's what we're looking here. These are all levels of how it matures itself. When you begin to understand just what quantum physics is talking about, that energy is intelligence, and you use that from a physical science, and then you add what all the religious saviors and saints and all these kind of people we talk about, the masters, the gurus, all these, what they have to say and their experiences. And so it boils down to quite simple. This is your journey. Your mind is your tool to use in creation. However, creation lives within the body of God. The only way God knows itself, per se, is through its creation. Because if you ever experiment being in the now, and play with this, learn how to live in the present moment, learn how to stop that mind from thinking, even if it's just for a few minutes, and learn what it's like to be in that present moment. Learn what that's like to be in that eternal now, which is consciousness, intelligence, awareness. There's only a few words we can assign to something that's infinite like that. So when you're taking something that's infinite and you're breaking it down into the finite, it doesn't happen outside of itself because it's the infinite. It is all things in all places at all times. So all experiences is within itself, not outside of itself. And that's kind of the old saying, you have to go within to get out, so to speak. But these journeys can be long for each individual. But we talked about this the other day, how it breeds the conscious dreamer in you. And of course, as one would individualize itself and create untold amounts of individualizations that can become conscious dreamers, the size of the allness you almost can't even fathom it in thinking about it or trying to wrap your consciousness around it. You can only absorb into it because you can't even think about something that's infinite with something that's finite. The mind can't conceive something outside of the realm of the finite. So it's just something to have fun with and play with. Someone pulled this up. This is a pretty girl. Right? And it says, Mom's face is partially removed after doctors misdiagnosed her cancer as hay fever. So this lady had a lot of sinus ticket, and she was misdiagnosed. Her medical doctor said it was just hay fever, hay fever, hay fever. And then a few years later, let me see, this is when 25-year-old mom started getting severe nosebleeds, sometimes lasting for hours, her physician told her she just had bad hay fever. And this, of course, this is why, well, let me go on, and then we'll talk about that. Over the next 5 months, she returned to the hospital multiple times to have her heavy nosebleeds cauterized. So even the hospital missed her. But it wasn't until September 2014, which I don't know how many years later that is, that her doctors realized pollen wasn't the culprit. She had a strawberry-sized tumor in her right nostril. By October, that lump had grown so large that it was interfering with her breathing. Her doctor suggested it was a polyp. It wasn't until February 15 that she promptly diagnosed with adenoid cystic carcinoma, ACC, a rare form of cancer that affects the salivary glands. That's becoming more common, not so rare anymore. Now get this. She also learned that her palate, upper teeth, and parts of her jaw and cheekbone would need to be removed and ultimately reconstructed using the fibula bone from her leg. I took a deep breath, put on my brave smile. I knew it had to be done, she told the mirror. And she turned her thoughts to her 3 young daughters, blah, 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 blah. It was a 13-hour procedure to remove her face. And the FDA has the friggin' audacity to bitch about black salve. It's just a bunch of, I'm not going to say it, Chris, but, you know, these are mindless people. You know, you're mindless when you uphold the use of toxic chemicals that have a large percentage of fatal events, and then you bitch and go after people that use salves to keep from having your face removed. It'd have been so easy to pull this tumor right out here through the sinus area. Could have pulled that tumor right out. Better yet, we could have got it out the right way. And think about this. Had this girl known about, and this world be ready for us, she could have came to one of us and we would have put her what? On a detox program, right? We might not have seen the tumor either. But if I look at her eyes, I'm going to see a mass up in this area. So that would have been helpful. We would have got it out anyway. We would have gotten that out with no face removal. None of that. She wouldn't have had to go through any of that. Even if we didn't take it out the natural way, and I say the natural way, it's simply reversing how these things are formed. It's that simple. You're simply reversing how you're creating this. This strawberry tumor just didn't pop out of nowhere land. It's created. That's why it grows and grows. Well, why? How do we create some monster like that? It's not. It's your lymph system. These are lymphatic issues. And this goes back. This is a young woman, so what's wrong with her? Kidney and adrenals. Kidney and adrenals. Here's her picture now. They did a good job, I guess. You could say that. But to have your palate, your upper teeth removed, all of this to get this tumor out, I mean, it's just the kind of sick, and you can imagine what holes she's got up in her sinus area and stuff, and it's sad stuff. This is why this world needs to awaken and why you guys are so important, because a black salve, I would have done that as opposed to removing the whole face. So when someone bitches about a little black salve, and there was another lady that bitched to the FDA that the black salve removes almost all her nose. And of course, you know, people respond to that. And I'm thinking, this lady, ignorant as she was, it's enough to say that if they remove the same thing we remove, there's a huge difference in what you're going to experience. First of all, you have to go under propofol. You have to go under the knife. So there's a nightmare from hell right there, with all the adhesions and scar tissue that's possible. And then to have to remove half your face or inside here and all that, these are things that don't have to be done. These are bizarre steps to remove something that's not understood. And it's like you said, misdiagnosed. I can understand that sort of thing at first, having a medical doctor misdiagnose something like that. Absolutely. But, you know, when you're getting bleeds like that, my first thing, of course, is going to be extreme acidosis, and that you've got that you're so acidic that your capillaries are breaking real easy. So I'm going to be looking at that. And then if she feels like she's not breathing or anything, you know it's the sinuses anyway, and you're going to do all the steps to get this to drain out of there. And there's a lot of things you could do, from some cayenne, some mild cayenne pepper and some 3-lung teas and stuff, some insertion here, or you could chew on horseradish root. You know, there's a lot of little things you can get to promote the drainage of the lymph, which will then allow this tumor to come out even through the frontal area and break open. I mean, there's a lot of ways that this lady could have been helped without removing part of her face. And that's the point of all these videos and stuff, is that Your choice that you make in any given moment dictates the rest of your life one way or another. Either a smile on your face or not. And that's the problem with these sort of medical thinking. The humans are the guinea pigs that suffer, and it's horrible. First of all, I want to thank you for your videos and everyday teaching. Thank you, my friend. Who is this? Oh, Julia. Hi, sweetheart. I really opened for me a new perspective in the way I see everything in life. Yes, good, because it's so much fun, more fun when you're more free, and you have the ability to see so much more than going along with the mind and those kicks that you get, because the mind is totally controlled here. I mean, the government's got a hold of your mind, your school's got a hold of your mind, your religion's got a hold of your mind. Everybody's got a piece of you. That's why you find that part of yourself that no one has a piece of and can't have a piece of. And that's that part of you that's eternally free. And that's a good feeling, to be free, because you can enjoy life so much more. I keep referring to the the movie Michael with John Travolta, and what an attitude a spiritual being that moves between the planes real easy to help God has an attitude of carefree. It doesn't matter. Fight the bull 1 minute, make love to the women the next. It doesn't matter, because it's all about having fun and enjoying yourselves. Because outside of that, what are you going to do? Lock yourself down, tie a noose around your neck, and hang yourself. We do that all day long in all our desires and all our wants. It's okay to want something, but when you constantly are seeking desire, your life is nothing. You're just chasing desires. You don't have any time to enjoy the beauty of things. And there's so much more one can see when you're not thinking. It's hard for people to understand that, and understand how the mind is, but once you do, you cannot believe. It is as freeing to you as learning how to get tumors in your body, all the acids out of your body. This level is like no other. It's nirvanic to feel good physically, but to understand your ability to have freedom and to move through the God worlds and to understand where you come from and who you are, it's hard to put words to that. I am a female of 28 years, and currently I'm following the 14-week. Whoa, yeah, hook on, honey. The problem is that I got extremely thin. Yep. I never weighed more than 105 anyway, but now I am only skin and bones. I weigh 61 pounds and I'm 5'3". Oh, crap. These are some of the problems. Remember in our discussion and how in your process to fix something, you might not look too good. And I gave the example of when you need your car painted. It's got beat up, door dings, and somebody hit you here and there. And so when they go in and they start sanding down the body and they start fixing, it doesn't look too good for a while. It only looks good when it gets that new shiny paint on that thing. And that's basically, when when you're saying that I didn't weigh much in the beginning, I have to think of a couple of things. I have to think, okay, here's the 4 processes. Here's digestion, here's absorption, utilization, and elimination. These are the 4 processes that are essential to wellness. There's no question about that. All right? So, is it a digestive problem or is it an absorption problem? And going on a raw diet like this and losing that much weight, it's an absorption problem. That means your lymph system, and you could have some digestive problems in there as well. Not saying that you don't, but take a look at your eyes, take a look at the gallbladder area, take a look at the pancreatic area, take a look at your bowels, and if you have a thick bowel ring around there, like we showed you on these pictures, to see if you're malabsorbed. But not everybody goes so thin. And when you do, the first thing I always find, and it's that I always find, is malabsorption. And to fix malabsorption is a lymphatic problem. I mean, you can have mucoid plaque building up on the wall. There's no question, from all the proteins and the grain products, especially the white flour products and all the mucousy, gluten-y glue stuff. Absolutely. But by far, the biggest problem man faces is his lymph system. And when this backs up interstitially in the gut wall, which is the GI tract wall, small and large bowels, stomach, that sort of thing, esophageal wall, everything swells. I mean, it's just a nightmare. And of course, you're going to get skinny. So the problem is with that, think about this. You're putting in all this energy and all this chemistry. I mean, you can't get better than raw, first of all. Nobody in a court of law anywhere in the world can prove that cooked is better than raw. That's a no-brainer. You couldn't prove that chemically or electrically, physics. You couldn't prove that in any way, shape, or form. So, number one, raw is so much more powerful, by far, hands down, no question. Not even to me, it's not even an intellectual conversation. Sorry. So you got your raw. Well, that's more energy and nutrition than you're used to. Why would you automatically put on muscle? By changing your diet like that, you should automatically put on better muscle. No. What happens to the old muscle? When you have to realize that most people have been raised on, I don't even think I could use food when I'm describing dead animal tissue and dairy products. I don't consider that a food source. So sometimes we use these as foods, but really, if you look at this, meats and dairy products, not really a food source for the human being. Fruits, berries, melons, maybe some vegetables for the human being, a food source. But when you take a look at all this and you realize that all these supposedly foods you were eating are non-foods, they were dead, they were vibrationally very low, magnetically almost dead, if not very low. So there's nothing in them to make one feel dynamic and healthy and vital. So by the typical diet that people are eating on this planet, there's nothing there that could possibly make them feel healthy and vital. So the only power we have is from ourselves as soul, and of course whatever the hormones and steroids or neurotransmitters, I'll put it that way, can generate us. So you have to unwind this. And unfortunately, getting thin, and no one around you can understand this, but there's a lot of people that got real thin. I showed you Ian here a lot, the muscle guy. There's a lot of them out there that got thin, but the weight comes back on. If this is too compromising, then back up a little bit. It just depends where your lymph system and what you're going after, sweetheart. If your life isn't in danger, then you can back up a little bit and pump some green drinks and stuff like that and slow down and maybe some avocados and put on a little weight and still halfway detox. You can get away with that. If you're going after something like tumors and high-end acidosis, fibromyalgias, and all the arthritises where your body's been torqued and everything, you can't afford to kick back too much. You really want to keep yourself straight and narrow, because as time goes, all the deformities will straighten themselves out. Your back will straighten yourself out. The fingers will straighten themselves out. Most of you that are in this way, I've seen you already. You're beautiful. Hilda, you're doing so beautiful. A lot of you are doing so beautiful. People don't realize how chronic these states are. When you start to see the malformation of your limbs and your body, and you get thin, and this is eating too. This is eating, the typical diet, and you're getting really thin and you're wasted away and you're getting so acidic and dehydrated. This is very serious stuff. This is a level of chronicness that nobody can deal with pharmaceutically. The only levels you can deal with pharmaceutically is acute and subacute, and the problem with dealing with those levels, which they did so fragrantly in the 50s on, 40s on, but what I didn't realize is by using that method, these were suppressants. So now we have chronic levels. It didn't cure the acute or subacute because pharmaceuticals are not meant to do that. It's just that there's not enough truth out there. Once in a while, a medical doctor will be truthful with their clients, and I love those guys. But for the most part, they're never truthful with them. And that's just because I don't know. It's enough to say we need a dose of truth and reality on this planet on all levels. And health is very important because it's all over the place. It's just all over the place. I was trying to think of something I saw on TV the other night. And it was medical doctors getting into the natural side of life. It was pretty good, it's getting better out there. 61 pounds, sweetie, is a little thin, but you're only 5'3", so let's think about this. Here we go. We got a 5'3" case, so the strong possibility, of a pituitary problem exists there. Excuse me. So that's what we want to look at, right there as well. That could trip you into low thyroid, low parathyroid, other problems right there. Even the case in level 2, we're going to have advanced endocrinology. I'm going to get you guys a little deeper into the workings of the glands and how they interface with each other, and what you do with clients that you're not getting the glands going like you should. We're going to get a little deeper into endocrinology a little bit. I think that's real important. So we're going to do that at level 2 here. I do have the pancreas capsules in my protocol that I currently take. I will also finish the week number 8. Take a look in your eyes, sweetie, and see if you see the pancreas or the gallbladder. You might want to fix those, and to save money, you could alternate, take liver gallbladder formula, 1 bottle, then take the pancreatic formula, 1 bottle. Then go back and take a liver gallbladder formula for 1 bottle and a pancreas. That's 2 bottles apiece, and see where you are. Because at the same time, while you're moving lymph and getting your kidneys filtering, that might be just enough to kick these things into working better for you, and you wouldn't have to take anything for them. Just let the cleaning the lymph system finish up the job. Okay, I also have jaw joint issue, TMJ. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm glad you're bringing this up. And this is a good case, guys, to listen to, because here's a 5'3", very, very thin person. So we know the thinness is more than likely malabsorption. Could be hyperthyroidism, but she has hypopituitarism. So that generally doesn't lead to an aggressive thyroid issue. It actually leads to a hypothyroid issue, but what's another one? Parathyroid issue. So the thyroid is calcitonin, the parathyroid parathormone. Both are used in the withdrawal of calcium and the aggressive putting back of calcium. So for me, having both the thyroid and the parathyroid is number 1, but having the parathyroid is essential. And having that TMJ, I can guarantee you have your parathyroid down. But with a pituitary down, it could sit down, because remember, the pituitary, the main gland, controls the thyroid through TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and the parathyroid for PTH, parathyroid stimulating hormone. Easy stuff. And so that pituitary, when you're only 5'3", and another problem could be irregular menses. That comes from pituitary weakness. So all these factors, and then of course, then they sit down on the other glands. Even the adrenal glands could be shut down from this. So the first order of the day is to turn on the pituitary. Now, when you do enough irises, you will see the pituitary is really linked to the transverse colon. This transverse portion of your colon controls the head. And you will see those radius solaris coming out of the stomach. And this goes back to the embryonic stage. You can't just look at a fetus now and you got to go back and back to the original cell, then to the embryo and all that, to see how all that is formed, to understand that a little more. It's good stuff, Jensen was a fanatic of that. And it takes hours. See, that's what I'm saying. There's definitely, you got to hit your pituitary, the parathyroid gland. Boy, I would, because you've got to strengthen your jaw and maybe realign it. As you weaken, things get out of line, everything else. For me, it takes hours for her to eat a decent amount of food, and only soft foods. I only eat fruits since November last year, and it is not an absolute necessary. I prefer not to add green drinks. Good. Good. I love that level. But the thinness is you're never going to die from that, because you're having more nutrition and more energy than you did. But you haven't anything that keeps fat on you. There's nothing here that keeps fat, unless you want to buy into the stupid concept of fructose causes fat. I was just reading this one thing for this guy. He wanted me to look at this, and the guy was half right when he was giving an analysis of the kind of how you get ATP and ADP. How the body, how that ionization process, the oxidation process, how all this process works, and how you get ATP from carbon or from your sugars and all this. And some of what he was saying was correct, and some wasn't correct. Yes, you have to combine phosphorus with all this, and then you actually have TS8. You got your let me get off point here. You got your ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Then you got ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate. And then you have your M's, which is your monophosphates. So a phosphate or a phosphorus bonding is essential to that, they claim. But his idea that the liver holds up fructose, and that fructose to get to pyruvic acid and stuff goes through these things, and it's like, wait a minute. Some of what this guy was talking about, it isn't even true, and the enzyme he was mentioning doesn't even do the thing that he was talking about. This enzyme works with lactic acid and stuff. So it was a little off in terms of this guy and what he thought fructose was. The idea, the guy said he had a fat belly and he couldn't lose any weight, and he thought it was all from the fructose. I'm a person that had extended years with fruits, and a lot of you have. And no one that I know of it's been on fruit for years has a belly and a butt. But you do if you have weak adrenal glands. So you have to consider in this whole metabolitic issue of fructose and glucose and the differences, because he was saying how fructose has to be converted to glycogen sometimes if the liver holds it up, if it's not properly being used, and all this kind of stuff like that. So I don't know about how much I buy into that, because I've watched bodies for a lot of years, and I do know as much about chemistry as I can, but there's a point where you don't see what some chemists think is going on there. Some of the actions and reactions are not understood well. There's a lot of hypotheses and things like this. But when you start looking at the cycles of energy and how we get energy in carbon and phosphorus, and on how phosphorus is used in all this, you got to look at the whole thing. You've just got to look holistically, and it's a big deal, because there's so much chemistry interactions to make things happen and to move chemistry, convert it into acids, and just this is all kinds of things going on. It's almost impossible to follow that and to come out and get your health right, because we already have a world of intellectualism when it comes to the pathways and things like that. Some are not even true. Some are true. Some are half-truths. When you start buying into an intellectual jargon like this, it takes you off point, because then you start believing in these people who are speaking as if this is the truth. I swear to God, so help me. And it's not. So you have to actually, I like clinical work, because you're working in real live people. Your lab can say anything because you have things out of context, you've isolated chemistry, therefore you have a totally different reaction chain. I mean, there's so many things like that that you can't take a laboratory analysis and apply it to real time out in the streets. You know, when you're consuming your foods whole, and you have your buffers in chemistry, and you have all of this going on. Plus, you have the individual genetics you have to consider in your studies. You have to consider the adrenals and low steroids and how that affects the phosphorylated and all of this sort of thing that's going on with that ATP, ADP, and AMP. All these things like that. I mean, it's just, it's a teaser. It's why I don't get into it too much, because there's a point where some of the stuff is not accurate. And so you have to be real careful about that. It's enough to say, if you keep it simple, you won't lose yourself in creation too much. We have lost ourselves. Look at the natural health field. The natural health field has lost themselves in too much of intellectualism themselves. You know, so now we're supplemented out the butt. There was a special on tonight on the news about how a lot of companies are selling out-of-date supplements for dogs. Particularly veterinarians are selling out-of-date supplements on dogs, and just it's a big story on out-of-date supplements. You know, we've just made such an intellectual mess out of the whole thing that we need to kick back a little bit and not put our faith so much into that. Put our faith into how God made things and how easy it is to get well without all the intellectual burden, because it'll drive you nuts. And then you've got some of it's not even true. Some of it is involved in half-truths, again, in realizing all the components to a study. And the proper components, including the holistic chemistry, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Where 60 Minutes found that most double-blind studies were ridiculous. And this is not me, this was 60 Minutes. I was talking to this oncologist, and he was talking about how they have studies to back up their belief systems. Well, then I said, well, we have a study showing that half of your studies aren't even true. So and then 60 Minutes came and said, well, more than that, most of the double-blind studies are done under conditions that are not fit for that particular study. So no matter what, the bottom line is, how do you get physically well in an insane world? And number one is you have to really go back and understand what vertebrae are you, what species, type of vertebrae is the Homo sapien. And then you're hard pressed to call us a herbivore. I saw David Wolf last night. Well, he's on an infomercial selling the bullet. Put on some weight, old David Wolf did. But I didn't see any fruit smoothies. They were all vegetables and green drinks. And some of it was a little nasty. And then he used almond milk and things like that. You know, a good smoothie does not have almond milk in it, and a good green drink does not have almond milk in it. When you're pouring a lot of almond milk, you're pouring a very concentrated drink, and a protein at that, into your smoothie. And that is wrong food combinations. And so he wasn't even doing just wrong food combinations, but to me, very inferior in his thinking now. And that's the avocado man, David Wolf. And that's what my point is. It's hard for everybody to stay raw 100% all the time, and definitely hard to understand the fruit level. But when you do, there's nothing like the fruits. The fruits and the berries and the melons are by far the tastiest and the best. All right, let's go on here. I'm sorry, sweet, I got it relayed there a little bit for you. I eat only fruit since November last year, and it is not an absolute necessity that I prefer not to add green drinks. I really want to heal. I've been very sick and had no life for too long, 7 years now. Well, then, you're a good woman. Go after it. I'm on your side with that, 100%. It's just what you do. You go after it. And you definitely want to go after this. Look at your eyes, sweetheart. See what you look. See what you see. Where are you? Where's your lymph system? Look at the skin. Make sure your skin is breathing. You know, you're sweating. If not, make sure that basal temperature and that thyroid is up there to get you the heat to sweat. What I want to ask, is it okay to take only 1/2 dropper full of tincture instead of 1 dropper full? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're that thin, you're definitely going to have a whole dosage could kick your little butt. So you want 1/2 dropper full would probably make more sense to me too. Mm-hmm. I followed the suggested use by weight on the bottles. I was supposed to start the protocol almost a year ago, but from different reasons, I could not. When the protocol was written, I was not as thin. I do take the capsules as written in the protocol, 2 capsules 3 times a day. Yeah, because if you're really going after something you really wanted to go after hard, you could up those capsules to 3 easy, 3 TID, easy. But if you're that thin and this bothers you a little bit, 1/2 dropper full is fine with me. Yep. Should I continue taking 1/2 dropper full or return to 1 dropper full despite my actual weight? No, I like 1/2 dropper full. I think you're doing good with that. You know, you guys know your body better than I do, so shift and adjust with that. You know, herbs are our little friends to use for our wellness, and you can use them however you want to use them. But I like the idea that you guys are thinking, and you're experimenting on yourselves, and you're adding, you're taking away. That is a sign of good spirituality. You don't need people to tell you what to do. I mean, I've laid a lot of things out for you. I'm here to help you all the way. But we each have to hoe our own road. We each have to drive our own car down that road. I'll walk with all of you. But we all have to drive our own car and take care of our own selves. And when you're hurting real bad, this Julia here is just the kind of mindset you want. Because she's going to be successful no matter what she has to work through and how bad or how good, whatever her body looks like, she's going to go through that. And that's vital because, you know, you get tired of suffering. And on the other side is Wellville, and it's a happy place. And it's worth whatever time it takes you. So what if it takes you a year? So what if it takes you 2 years? So what if it takes you 3 years? Who cares? You want to drive your car into Wellville, be done with this karma, and then then your life can be full of everything else. For us to spend so much time thinking about our food and diets when you could be out of body traveling. I'm just saying. Thank you, sweetheart. Thanks for the video. Thanks for liking my videos. I don't know. I thank you very much. Thank you, sweetheart. But that's what, it's people like Julie here that kicks butt, that wins. The Julias out there, keep kicking butt because, and again, remember the art of detoxification. Know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to kick it up, how to drive your car down that road. Sometimes some of you can just, bam, drive it right on down. And others have to come back a little, take a break a little, and remember muscle test. When you feel right on an herb or an herbal formula, muscle test it. Muscle test everything if you want to. But if you don't feel right on an herb, you suspect it, don't know what you're doing, have somebody muscle test you, show them how, and don't look at what you're being tested on. Let them test your 2 or 3 formulas, and hold them in one hand while you use the other hand. And it's a good way. It's a good way to be able to tell what you want. I am a married woman and trying for a child. My history is, number 1, I have infertile uterus, ovaries undeveloped. I have menstruation only once. Okay. If it was me, I'd get the female reproductive formula, number 1. I would spend a good, 4 or 5 months on this. Now, with that said, I probably would also add to the endocrine gland right now. Because you have to also consider the pituitary in this issue, sweetheart. You have to consider the pituitary because that's your growth factors. And if this is true, it could just be a hormone problem. But if this is true and your undeveloped ovaries are underdeveloped, and this sounds like something a medical doctor told you, but if it's true, then you want the female reproductive formula because it'll start, and because it does have pituitary herbs in it. Now these are herbs, these are not glandulars. And if you add the endocrine gland formula in there, you're picking all the glands up at the same time. So, excuse me, please. I'd be working on that. But I also would be turning around, I'd be going after what? My adrenals, my kidneys, my lymphatic system, my GI tract. Absolutely. Absolutely. Always, every single time. Don't leave that out. Don't leave that out for the symptom. You want to always go after the base cause of why all these genetics are the way they are, why everybody's suffering all the way they are, and the system that they're suffering from. And that's the lymphatic system. And all you got to do is head off after those adrenals, kidneys, the GI tract, the lymph system, clean that up while you're working on these other things. Because they can stunt growth just as much as anything else. Acids can stunt growth just as bad as lack of growth hormones. So those things you want to do, and then you'll be able to get very fertile. Very fertile. Never seen anyone couldn't. Matter of fact, I've warned you ladies, taking the female reproductive formula while you're on birth control is dangerous. Because we've had a couple of ladies conceive while on birth control taking the female reproductive formula. So at least that's more powerful than pharmaceuticals. So you want to be careful. But this should be an easy do for you. Look in your eyes, take a look at the uterus, take a look at the ovaries in terms of your eye is, because that'll show you the cells of the ovaries, the cells of the uterus. But I can tell you, you want to look at the pituitary because this is without a doubt partly pituitary, if not all pituitary. So you want to really look at that. I saw an article in homeopathyway.com, case blah, 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 blah. A 13-year-old female came to me with problem of not growing in height and weight. She had underdeveloped secondary sexual characters. According to her age, menses had not appeared yet. Thermally chilly, craving spicy food. Sonograph showed infertile uterus and undeveloped ovaries. An average student, shy of... Is this yours? Oh, no, you saw an article. Treatment. Friendly with known people, very attached to mother. Interesting for that physician to write in such a way, isn't it? The treatment was, I'm not familiar with their homeopathics, but this is Barta carb. I am one. Let me see. 1 m, 1 dose was given. Regular follow-up showed improvement in height and weight. I don't know. All I can say, that's homeopathy. I'm really not into homeopathy. I mean, we've got some great homeopathists, and I do like homeopathy as a treatment-based system. but this is something you want to regenerate. And so you really want to get into the real issue of regeneration in the human body. And so you want to address, why didn't you regenerate? What's wrong with the pituitary? Why didn't you develop properly? If this is, in fact, your case, where your ovaries are underdeveloped and things like that, you have to go to the pituitary. So what would cause that? All right? So remember, we just talked about how the pituitary is tied symbiotically with the transverse colon. So when you get used to looking at the eyes, iridology, and you get used to the eyes, you see immediately that to have a pituitary problem, you also have a corresponding problem within the transverse bowel. So we see this all along the colon particularly, but it's also along the small bowel. There's a neurological symbiotic relationship to everything. Go back to the embryonic stages that we were teaching and show you how the embryo opens up, how that little tadpole tail is the gut tissue and spinal column, how all the organs and glands sprung out of the gut tissue and all of that. You begin to start to see how things are going, you know, kind of cool stuff. But it's enough to say, you can turn this around, should be able to turn this around pretty easily. Like I said, you have to look at how advanced you are in that weakness. So this is why I say you always want to go after the GI tract. You always want to go after related tissues. You always want to go after kidney and adrenals, related tissues. See what I'm saying? So you want to go after all those things on top of going after the pituitary. Now you could just take a glandular for the pituitary. I take the female reproductive first. I would tone myself in the female area. But at the same time, there's herbs for the pituitary in there. Taking the endocrine gland formula, there's herbs for the thyroid, parathyroid, all the other glands as well. So I think that those combinations would be good for you without entering a glandular at this point. Got some hope that my case can be solved by the above treatment? Yeah, you're going to solve your case the right way. I request you to kindly suggest whether my infertility uterus and undeveloped ovaries can be treated, and will I be able to get my menses every month? Essential to fix this. Absolutely essential to fix this. But again, you have to understand where your problem is. Even though you're seeing the problem down in the ovaries and the uterus, the problem is more up here, especially in underdevelopments. So you want to go that way and fix that, because here's the other thing. You got to go back to the causative factor of why the pituitary is down. And again, we're going back to the bowels, but we're going back to the diets, we're going back to that whole thing of toxicity, of kidneys not filtering, of the lymph system. To get to these areas, to get to these other symptoms, you got to first shut the pituitary down. Well, how do you do that? This is what we've been talking about. Acidosis, lymph, mucus, all this sort of thing like this shuts them down. And it's just like the sinuses are so full of mucus. Well, the pituitary's right up in there. So everything gets hit bad with mucus. Tumors, you see tumors, cysts, everything else. So you want to approach this holistically. You don't want to approach this like you're treating your problems. You want this holistically looked at, because you want your body in good shape. Because if you do want to conceive, you don't want your babies having problems. If you just get yourself, I could get you hooked up here to conceive. Real easy. But the question is, would you hold for the full term? And two, the reason you have this problem, you didn't rebuild, so your offspring will have it. So this is just, it's totally wise. Because if you ladies are too in a hurry to have a child before you get yourselves well, then I suggest you review your emotions. And that you take a look at this emotional side of that, because that's all that is. And you want to get a hold of that, because you're the most important thing in your world. So you want to get that first before you have your babies. That way you're in the right place to be in. And you don't just want to have a baby to have a baby. That can't be anymore. You gotta realize what's going on in this world and what the suffering that's here and all that's going on. So if you want to bring a soul here, then have a good reason to do that. And get your body healthy to do that, because if not, you have a nightmare situation with these babies and these kind of problems. You have a pituitary problem here. You could have a baby with Downs. I mean, you could have a baby with anything. because you're talking about serious underdevelopment. You could have some serious problems with your child. You see where I'm going with this and why it's so important that you holistically fix everything? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I reside near to, I don't know where you're from, sweetheart. I can't pronounce this. Basavanagudi. Basavanagada. I have no idea. I couldn't even begin to pronounce that. Country boy syndrome, but still I couldn't pronounce it even if I was an intellectual. Kindly keep me to solve this problem. Very desperate to have a child. Make sure you have a child for the right reasons and fix your body first, sweetheart. And that way you have a healthy child and you will be a happy mother. It's sad when you're an excited mother and your baby then has a lot of health problems. That's not fun. And I can tell you a lot of mothers that don't have babies anymore because their babies were so sick, the medical doctor didn't know how to treat them properly. And now you got St. Jude and all the slaughterhouses out there putting not Jesus juice, putting acid juice down your babies. And the death rate is unreal. It's a killing machine like no other. And of course, thank you, Chad. You first can see that firsthand, and I hope everything's working out right. That's pretty cool. We'll have to tell everyone how that works in the future. Especially you nail this down right. Because when you cross jurisdiction, it's all about jurisdiction. It always has been. That's what people don't realize. And people don't realize to pull jurisdiction on people, too. And, you allow jurisdiction if you allow it. But you have to get yourself, if you're an American born in the 50 states, not in federal territory, 50 states, you are a whole different character than what you realize. You're a whole different entity than what you realize. They're treating you differently because you bought into what they're doing to you. But when you understand the reality of what this government has done to the people, you won't be too happy. All right, Victor. My name is Victor, is a 42-year-old man from Bulgaria, Eastern Europe. I know where Bulgaria is quite well. I found your videos on YouTube by chance. No such thing, I know. You're a spiritual kind of guy, huh? I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's nothing happening out of happenstance, that's for sure. And that's how my life started to change. Now I'm reading your book with great interest, also watching. Oh, thanks, bro. Yeah, thanks. Glad I can help you. If I can help, I'll be glad to help. It's good to have a group of us that feel good, that know how to help people get well, because the suffering here is barbaric. I mean, the suffering on this, look at everybody. I mean, I was going to read you something here where someone was helping something and they had cancer, and then the other person had cancer, and this person had cancer, and it was just like, oh my God. So it's a nightmare out there. So fix yourselves up. Fix yourselves up. It's worth it. Because what you invest in your time right now to fix yourself up, a year, 2 years, you'll stack the years on your life, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years on top of your life. Plus, there'll be fun years. I tell you, it's well worth what you invest in this one. This is one of your best investments you can make, is the time you take to learn and grow and take your body to Wellville. Well worth it. Be the best thing you ever did in your world, because your world will then change into something that you can't even imagine. And your understanding of life will skyrocket. My question is, have you ever been asked to do iris diagnosis of your own eyes? Or put in other words, can you show how does a healthy eye look like? Not mine. Not mine. I tried to show you one healthy eye. Oh no, I was born just the opposite. I was born, see if I have an eye like mine. I don't even know if I have my eyes here. Oh no, I was born. Well, this isn't my eye, but I was born with lacunas like this. Not as much lymph, but some big lymph spots in places. Oh yeah, oh yeah. This to me is about as healthy as an eye as I found, and this is without me cleaning her lymph system up. So she's 95 right now, and she's kicking butt. And her eyes, like, I don't have a new eye from her, but it's better than this one, and this one is about as clean and as nice as you're going to get. I was born with the lacunas and stuff. I don't have all the brown and the sulfurs and stuff because we never, farmer guys, we don't get into crap like that. But I did drink a lot of milk. But my eye does not look like hers. See all the lacunas? There's no straight lines anywhere. Yeah. But when you start correlating people's problems with their eyes, it's evident. Like that last eye, she had 3 cancers. The last one being pancreatic. She's still alive and well, and no cancer left in her. Been that way for 20 years. But that was a job. That was an 11-month ordeal. And an ordeal it was. I've told you about her. Yeah. Yep. Thanks, Victor, for that. Absolutely. I don't look at my own eye. No, I'm just kidding. This is Christina. Hi, Christina. Hi, I've had eczema since I was a baby. And she's 25 years old now. Jesus, think of all the skin things. And I was using this analogy. Chris is working on the video to get up. I said a few things on there that they didn't think I should say, so he's got to go through and change a few things. But I just talked to this medical doctor, and it was, I don't know, this other medical doctor, and it was just not being nice. So I wasn't too nice on that, so probably need to take that off. I try to be nice, but you know what? When you see what's going on out here, it's tough. And I know it's all unconsciousness. It really is. It's just all levels. This is creation. It's for your learning, pleasure, and that sort of thing. But it's tough sometimes when you're in the field and you just see this slaughtering of humans, is what I call it, because there's no other word for it. No offense to the medical community, because they don't know any better. It's all unconscious. But they believe in their own crap, and so the narcissism is so high. It's repulsive, and it's going to cave in on itself. You know, it's like you're removing half of a face. If there's no other way possibly for this poor girl to fix this, well, then you got to remove what you got to remove. But first, try everything else. And this is the problem with the medical community. They first have to understand they're not the only kid on the block. That's an antitrust issue. But you're not the only kid on the block. You're actually not even anything close to the natural health field. You're into the treatment of symptoms with pharmaceuticals. So they got to stay there unless you want to come over to our side. It's nice to have the combination. I used to think that. But if you're going to be a combined medical doctor where you use your pharmaceuticals, but at the same time you use holistic, then you want holistic to be your driving force, because you're going to cure a lot of things. And you're going to be very happy as a medical doctor. You're going to cure things all your other friends are not even thinking about. And then if you need a pharmaceutical, you got plenty of chances to do that. If you have hospital privileges, you can always work that end of it. There's all kinds of things you can work into it. But keep that natural focus, and you'll be the happiest medical doctor on the planet. Because instead of a life of wondering who's going to sue you next, it's going to be a life of hugs and kisses. Yeah. Well, you know, again, I gave you that analogy. Let's say this was Coca-Cola. All right, so this is Coca-Cola, and it has a 3 pH factor. Coke actually is a little hotter. Coke is about 2.85, so it's a little hotter than 3. So I'm going to take a big swig. It's going to hold it in my mouth for about an hour. Remember, I was saying, if you had no mucosic response, because as soon as you put an acid in your mouth, it creates mucus, because your body's going, whoa, 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 whoa. So the mucosa always produces mucus to try to neutralize. Remember, mucus is lipid-based, which is your lymph system, which is lipid-based, because acids need big mamas to sit on them, which are lipid-based. So you'll see all that. If you did not have that response and you were holding 3 pH in your mouth, well, your herpes would pop out all over, that's for sure, real quick. And then the blisters, and then the breakdown of the mucosa, and then, you see where I'm going? I mean, and that's only for an hour or two. Imagine holding, this lady's 25 years old, and she had eczema since she was a baby. So she's holding 3 pH acids subcutaneously. Epidermis, dermis, subcutaneous. She's holding her waste in those areas. Good, probably low thyroid. Can't get enough heat to sweat. Of course, it's all very suggestive that her kidneys and adrenals are way down. Her kidneys are not able to take this, to handle the main load. Therefore, the main load went to the skin, and now the skin can't filter. And so this poor girl's been in trouble a long time. There's only one way out of skin problems, guys, and that's to understand what system the skin belongs to. You know, the integumentary system. And the skin is the body's third kidney. So when your kidneys aren't filtering, you got to get them to filter. Because if you don't get them to filter, nothing's going to change. You can throw creams. I'm sure you've thrown all kinds of things on it since you had this, since you were a baby. The standard steroids and antibiotics and all the crap that makes it even worse. That's the problem with pharmaceuticals. They lock and suppress everything, and so when you come off, kaboom! This is the same thing with chemo, the blowback. So when someone says, oh, I'm in remission, I'm in chemo, I'm in remission, I'd go out and get me a big piece of log and bite it until I was done, because remission only means you're just waiting for the blowback, and blowbacks aren't good. They're 10 times worse than the original problem. You can't put acid on top of acid. Don't fix the system involved. Just put hot acids in the body and not expect a blowback. But it's also true if you're using a chemotherapy that's even up in the 6s, like this one oncologist was claiming, then it's the action of the pharmaceutical itself that'll get you. And that action has to be a suppressive action, because whatever action an herb or a drug has, it's going to have it in the whole body. You're not just going to have action toward cancer cells themselves or damaged cells. No. They got into saying that for a number of years until they started getting blowback from that. And like, no. I've used topical I used topical steroids for years. Now that just sent her adrenals down the other way. So now she has more of an adrenal problem than she had when she was a baby. And that's the problem. So she can't get out of this because they're not doing anything with her to get her out of this. They're just focusing on suppression. It doesn't make things, steroids don't make acid just disappear. You don't make chemistry disappear. You neutralize, you wax and wane from base to acid. And, you have that whole ionization process, the whole movement of electrons, the whole, how life moves and breathes. The osmosis, the dense into the less dense, that whole movement of chemistry and physics and things, it's just the way life is. Easy to understand. I finally stopped using them this past February, and I have been eating vegan. Mostly fruit diet, good, with cooked starches and grains. You're still feeding your skin with starches and grains. And that would be highly suggestive of what problem? Candida, because if you've been on steroids and you've had this problem all along, sweetheart, you're loaded with candida. So I would definitely take a Parasite M formula for 2 to 3 months. Definitely going to get that candida out of you. You want to dump the grains and the starches. That's protein and starches. You want to dump those. You can't get over that skin problem like that. But eczema has spread to nearly my entire body. Well, but you understand why, guys? This is a systemic problem. The skin is systemic, the lips is systemic, and this is a systemic problem. So she's going to have it head to toe. It's just waiting to pop out everywhere. And you have to deal with this systemically. Well, you have to look at this lymph system. The problem is there's major ignorance in this system. Major ignorance out there in this system. But luckily, they're finding new parts of it in the brain. Remember the University of Virginia and then the lymphatic system? I can't remember which university she was at. So they're finding more and more of a system they don't have a clue about, except for those lymphologists out there that do understand that the lymph system is the core of all man's problems. So there's a whole bunch of elite medical doctors that know that the lymph system is at the core of man's problems. but they don't know enough to understand the kidney connection to that and the fact that you have to remove cellular waste, not blood proteins, cellular proteins, cellular acids have to be moved out. You don't go cellular acids into the blood, then into the lymph. That doesn't happen. It's cellular acids interstitial into the lymph nodes, kidneys or skin. And it would be that way because you have to have eliminative organs attached to these systems of elimination. You can't have, what was the one medical doctor said, an esoteric removal of toxins out of the brain. Well, I'm into the esoteric, but esoteric removal of anything by the allopathic community means we don't know. Magic. Things just don't disappear with magic, guys. I've been fully raw for 11 days, and my skin is constantly dry and flaking off. And you're gonna see some ups and downs. Don't get mad, sweetheart. You've been all your life with this. Don't get upset, but you want to go, girl, into this and get this done because I'm not surprised you're not getting some basals already and squamous. You got to be real careful here. I get periods of unbearable itchiness. Like I said, you're full of candida, full of it, and that's the itchiness. So, and this is typical. I mean, this is just sewage, and you had all your little creatures enjoying the, So, here's the thing. I'd go on a parasite. If it was me, I'm going on a parasite M for an extended period of time. I'm going to go on the 14-week protocol if you can afford that. If not, go on the first kit, and then go down from the first kit to at least the Fab 4. But you want to be 100% raw with this. You don't want to mess around with this, sweetheart. You're too old to have to go through this any longer. This is a bad thing, and you've got to fix this because you can start popping tumors. I mean, there's a as you're getting a good idea from these videos, there's a whole bunch of problems you can have with this problem. See which it results in bleeding or oozing of fluid, and this is interstitial, and so this is your lymph fluid, and you got a little blood in it now and then, of course, but it's gooey, your liquid, gooey, nasty acid fluid. That's your lymph system trying to clean the acids out of you. And it's going to ooze. It's going to use holes that you have. It's going to use any place it can to ooze out because you're full. You're loaded. They've kept all this stuff. You're like a ticking time bomb. No offense. But you're like a ticking time bomb. They kept all this in, all these acids in with steroids. And now you're coming off of them. So don't get upset. But you're going to have a little blowback. And when you start detoxifying at this level, you're going to have a lot of major itching and all kinds of blowback from this. Get the burn salve or get antifungal salves. Those aren't going to stop you from eliminating on the skin. They're going to have some anti-inflammatory effect with you as well. Or you could just use some grapeseed oil or some coconut oil, olive oil. You don't want to use thick oil. You don't want to bring. You're going to add to the mix, but at the same time, oils are going to be very anti-inflammatory because these are acids. So oils are the big mamas, so they can help you a little bit with this. At the same time, though, honey, you want to go after the lymphatic system. That's your kidneys, adrenal glands, your lymph system itself, your lymph nodes, and I'd go over to that GI tract. I would. And I can tell you one thing. Your adrenals are going to need some help because you've been on steroids way too long. So I would probably do the 400 glandulars since you've been so long on these steroids. That's when a glandular could help you immensely, is when you've been that many years on a steroid. Which either results in bleeding or oozing of fluid. I can barely sleep. Which herbs do you recommend as bare minimum on a budget to help? Well, also, Christina, get a hold of... you can get a hold of Elizabeth and tell her I told you, just go back to the giveaway shelf and see if there's anything left on the giveaway shelves that we can help you with this. And we'll put you together a program. Yeah, I'll give her a notice on this. So you could, if we have any back there to help you out, because you really want to get after this. So I'll help you as much as I can, but sweetheart, you want to get after this. You want to be done with this. This is crazy. You've been way too many years of doing this. So the blowback could be real bad at first, and don't get upset with this, but I'm just pre-warning you. But on steroids all this time and everything, your detox could be, one where you're not real happy at first because it's like you said, it's going to blow up all over the place. All over the place. It's going to itch like hell. I know it. I've seen this for years and years and years and years. So it's just something you're going to see. You go slow up and do this. I don't know what to say about that part of it. All I can think is all these years you've been acidic like that is holding Coca-Cola in your body against your cells for 25 years. You can imagine what you look like inside from this. So this is why these oils are important, why your lymph system is the way it is, and why cells are somewhat protected with a wall and phospholipids and the like. It just has to be some protection from this blowback from acidosis. Dear Dr. Morris, thank you for taking my question among all the yeah, you're welcome. I just wish I could get to all of you. Look at this. There's this, and that's just me trying to catch up, and then I just pulled these off of Chris's from your weekend questions. So as you see, I'm not doing a very good job at keeping up with this, but I think for everyone that has eczema since they were a baby, this has got to be a lot of you. I'm getting so many requests for skin problems that this one focus fits all. I wish I could come to see you, but fear the sight of these would make you extremely ill. I don't think so. Many years ago, I was told I was the ugliest girl in the world. What? And hope and pray you have an answer for me. This is a topic I've never heard discussed directly, but perhaps indirectly. Now you got me intrigued, dear one. God. Why would you say that? I'm in my early 60s, a long-term vegan and raw living foodist. Ain't you a spiritual woman? Over 30 years vegan. That's pretty dang good. I mean, for you souls that are doing this, you'd have realized your strength and who you are. You guys have been vegan for 30 years. You're very spiritual people. You might not have realized it yet, or you might. It's enough to say, it's time to come into your own. It's time to go for God consciousness. You've done your thing here. 10 years raw and living foods. Good job. But I have an extremely severe case of seborrheic keratosis on my abdomen, chest, and back areas. I've had them at least 30 years. Nothing I do, eat, or attempt seems to remove them, and they keep spreading more and more. Kind of tied with the same thing here, dear one. And this is the thing. You've got to fix the eliminating organs in your body, because one thing that has not been a lot of focus on is proper elimination. We know we poop, we stool, we know that's digestive waste, and yes, some people have diarrhea and constipation because the GI tract looks like a mess in most humans. It's a mess. But the kidneys and skin are big deals. These are the removal of acids from the cells. These are a big friggin' deal. It's one thing to have a simple GI tract, you digest, you absorb, blah, 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 and the remainder of the waste go out. But what about the waste from 100 trillion cells inside of you? Where do they get their waste removal done at? Well, the lymph system is the only system that does that. The blood has nothing to do with waste removal as far as I know. And can't, as far as I know. If you're in chemistry, you understand why that statement is being made. So you would never want, and the same analogy would be, you would never put your waste in your kitchen. You do have a sink, you have a garbage disposal, and you do put food waste down, just like you do your GI tract. That same thing. But you don't put your waste from your cells, from your bathroom, back into your kitchen. You don't have a pipe that runs from your toilet back into your kitchen sink. And that's what's being suggested allopathically when you claim that your acid waste from your cells are being dumped into the venous system again. That is, I mean, for even them, that's a pretty stretch. Understanding acidosis and understanding all that, that's a big stretch. Okay, they itch, and I fear I will be covered with them even more than I already am. And all these pustulas and all these things, see, this is all just acid stuff, full of fungus. That's why they itch. It's just, it's this whole thing. It doesn't matter the type of different, what you see and the different types of looks that you see with skin problems, whether it's psoriasis, eczema, or dermatitis or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all from the same source, the same stuff. It doesn't matter what bacteria is enjoying the food. But you have an elimination blockage, and that you have to fix. And that's just as the lady before you, the same way. You have to open up these doors. And until you do, and that's a big issue when you think about this. This is the failure of most naturopaths and the natural health field. It's a huge failure allopathically, but I can't blame anybody here because it's just the way creation's put together. And this is the part about education and books that you have to be careful about. Reading everybody else's opinion pretty much keeps the same philosophies, the same ideas, the same consciousness out there. How do you discover new things? You hear that? We're getting a whole new road out in front of here. They're doing major road work on 41 out here. This is a major highway. Tampa to Miami, the Tamiami Trail. Major work on it. Let me see. The barnacles of old age. I got them in my 20s. That wasn't old age in your 20s. Now, you know what? This is all about your sewer system, honey, and you want to get this. You're 60 years old, which is frightening because of how many years you've had to deal with this. And that, you got to also consider the health of the cell itself, you know, and the rest of the body, because this isn't just subcutaneous. This is systemically involved. So the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas, the heart, the lungs, all have some degree of lymph involvement because of this. I wasn't old. Eating clean, I still didn't consider myself old, but I have these horrible appendages, hundreds of them. Please, can you guide me to eliminate? Absolutely can. I'll tell you what, again, if you can afford the detox kit, the original detox kit, I would. I would definitely take a Parasite M for several months. At the same time, I'm going right into my kidneys, I'm going into my adrenals, and what else? The system that they control, the lymphatic system. What else are you going to do? I take the skin formula, by the way, and start opening all my doors. If you want to, use some cold, use some salt water baths to help you, to kind of, to break down. It's the same thing with Julia here. I would take the saltwater baths to kind of cool everything. Julia, or is that, no, that was, no, Christina. Yeah, I would definitely take some salt baths. I mean, I dump all the psoriasis cases out in the ocean out here. Definitely helpful for symptoms because it's salt water, it's alkaline. Of course, and this is an acid condition. So when you use the proper cytochemistry to combat the other cytochemistry, you're successful. But you just don't want it just to look pretty on the skin, do you? What do you want? You want subcutaneous. You want this cleaned all on your body. You want your body cleaned up. You have to have your body cleaned up. And this is the only way to do it. Detoxification is the golden key, my dear. It'll clean you up. Now again, same thing. Don't get upset if it looks worse before it looks better, because it's real possible. But it will get better because you're fixing the appropriate system. Please, can you, to eliminate them, 30 years ago I had some cut off, painful, but they all came back. Yeah, you can't, nah, these are going to keep coming back and back and back and back. It's just the way the life is in the body there. I've tried lotions, creams, oils, tea tree, neem, various things, nothing works, because you can't treat these conditions. These are systemic problems that deal with the lymph system and the lack of removal of acid waste. You fix that problem and you're done. You're fixed. You have no worries anymore. It's all done and fixed. Once you get those kidneys filtering, you dig in and you clean your body out, you're good for the rest of your life. How sweet is that? Unless, of course, you go walk down Trashville and you start living on a dairy farm again, and you probably wake up to some problems. At age 30, I had a total hysterectomy, the mistaken surgery of the day, owing to severe endometriosis. Again, conclusive evidence that your lymph system's a mess. It's just another evidence that your lymph system was a mess in the uterus. So it's going to be a mess all through you, dear. I'm sorry. These were the days before I woke up. You know, that's the question. Is it better to wake up or is it better not to know? I think it's always better to wake up, don't you? And that's what I'm trying to intrigue some of you guys, to wake up. And I mean really wake up. There's waking up and there's really waking up. After that, I changed my diet and lifestyle. Couldn't have had any effect, could it? Could that promote premature aging? Acids do. I don't care. Look at this with a smoker. You could take a smoker that smoked cigarettes since they were young, and at age 25, they're all wrinkled up and look old. It's all about acidosis, period. Why? Acids steal calcium out of connective tissue, making you wrinkle. It takes the tone out of your body, all the dead foods. You lose your skin pigmentation, your skin wrinkles. It dehydrates and dries up. You dehydrate and dry up. Your back curves, or you end up like back in the fetal position, and this is all done under the acid sky. Get under the base sky like you should be, and all that'll change back. Just you're living under the wrong sky. The wrong type of chemistry. I do not use hormones, and I now am the original natural girl. Woman. You're a 60-year-old woman. Most humbly appreciated and most humbly giving, my dear. I like you. I like how you talk here. Warmly and sincerely. Chris? This is a Chris? Chris? I just said the first name. 1,000 thanks. And 1,000 thank you back. Don't be too intimidated on something like this about reading your name if I make a mistake, because to be honest with you, I don't pre-read these. I don't have the time. No offense. So if I can't pronounce a word, I can't pronounce a word. I'm not the best in English in pronunciation of words, even though my grandmother was a school teacher. She taught 1st through 12. She drove the bus, picked up her students, taught them, and drove them home. She was real strict. But, you know, I'm a male, a farm boy male. We weren't English majors where I come from. And I never had the desire for that. I'm science. I love science. English, I don't know. Now I wish I'd have paid attention more. You know, you always do. I wish I'd have taken typing. That would have been great. But you know, farm boys don't take typing. Hi, Dr. Morse. My name is Ellie, 21-year-old living southern France. Been to southern France, my dear. All the stone homes, pretty down there. It reminds me of the old days in America. If you want to go to a Home Depot, good luck. And the towns, I love the little towns. I was treated quite a bit there and taken to the #1 French chef of the world, #2 French chef of the world. Kind of neat to see how they have their restaurants and how you get to them and all that. Cool stuff, the south of France. I took that real fast train out of, let me see here. For 5 months now, I've been living in hell, but oh man, as you would say. In January, I started to have huge gut problems. Ooh, chronic diarrhea, belly pain, ooh, I don't like that, etc., coupled with paranoia, depression, and derealization. Ooh, Jesus, derealization. Pretty much feeling autistic, actually. No kidding. Wow, soon I got to the hospital. My blood work was very bad and clearly showed the gut was destroyed by an infection. Now let's stop right there. Let's look at it a different way. What system do you have down to be able to use that word infection? What system? The blood? No, the sewer system. Exactly. Wait a minute, we're talking about in the sewer system, you had a sewer system problem. Yep, about the size of it. So, when your lymph system backs up more and more through the years, through the months, through the weeks, remember every day your body is producing waste at the cellular level. And how many cells does the body supposedly have? Around 100 trillion. Write out 100 trillion and see how long that is. And you start to realize how many cells comprise the human body. And each one of them is a little being that requires a nutritional energetic hit and has to have their waste removed. Whether it's bone, muscle, heart, lung, prostate, uterine. It doesn't matter. If that isn't being done, then sewage backs up. But this isn't just sewage. Sewage is acidic. On its way out, whether you're talking about fermentation or putrefaction, sewage tends to be more acidic. Now, you can have some of the gases that are alkaline gases, like your ammonias and stuff, from purine, from the protein breakdowns and stuff. I took antibiotics at that time. I got quite better. Okay, so what they did was they killed the bacteria in your gut that was trying to take care of the sewage that was building up in your gut. But now the symptom is gone, but the sewage is still there. See, that's what you got to understand. By killing bacteria, you don't get rid of the sewage. And the bacteria wasn't after your gut tissue. It was after the sewage in your gut tissue. That's a big difference. So you have to understand the place that bacteria play in our society and in our world. Many people have been hurt drastically by the use of antibiotics. Then a few weeks later, the infection came back. Let me see. Couldn't keep them out, huh? No offense, but you know what? You bring up, Ella, you're bringing up some good stuff here. You really are. It's just the stuff I've been talking about for years. You can't kill your friends and then expect not to have a blowback. So just what you happened. They didn't get rid of your problem. They killed your little friends trying to help you get rid of your problem. You just didn't realize that. And they don't realize that. It's the terrain that's the problem. It's the culturing medium that's the problem, not the culturer. Then a few weeks later, it came back, and I experienced the symptoms above very strongly. The blowback. The blowback is a nightmare sometimes, guys. And this is what happens. What you suppress today, remember that? My old saying, what you suppress today is your nightmare from hell tomorrow. You don't suppress, you expectorate, you eliminate. Nature does not suppress, it eliminates. Since then, I pretty much hasn't stopped. My corporal culture was perfect, however, recently. I did test, but see, you're not, that's what you have to get off is you're not about Heliobacter or pylori, or you're not about any of this. You want that acid sewage out of those walls. Because now you stop popping polyps and tumors, the pancreas can go down, the liver will start getting stones in it along with the gallbladder. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on if you don't already have stones in the gallbladder. So, you want to back up and hit and address the cause of this problem. Because no matter what we're talking about digestion, we're talking about the nervous system, we're talking about breathing, we're talking about the transportation of blood. It doesn't matter what system you're in. All systems have three systems that's essential for them to work, even within the systems. And that's your blood, nerve, and lymph. And your lymph is as vital as the other two. Remember, blood feeds them, nerve moves them, lymph cleans them. And within the blood and nerve, there is lymph. Lymph is a universal fluid everywhere, and it is your protection. And when it ceases to be your protection, it's your nightmare. It's your pain, it's your tumors, and it's your hell of a death. Hell, when blood doesn't run, it's a quick death, a quick heart attack, a quick stroke. Hopefully you're done. But with the lymph system, it's a long, painful death. And then if you treat that, on top of that, life gets more hellish. Amazing. Remember the guy that got 45 years, the medical doctor got 45 years because he was pushing people that didn't even need chemo on chemo? He should have got life. How many people did he kill doing that? Now, I've said this before, medical doctors need to start going to jail that use chemotherapy. I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for any of them. You're using a toxic drug on a person that has, your results are right in front of your face. When you have a 3% standing success rate, that's not a success rate. That's a killing machine. It's not a success rate, it's a killing machine. All right. I did a test with urinary organic metabolites, and they found lots of Clostridia byproducts. The doctors think now all my problems came from a long time nasty hidden Clostridium-like infection. You know, if you chase this rainbow, not a rainbow, but if you chase this way of thinking, you're never going to get well. And you're going to hurt yourself and hurt yourself and hurt yourself. It's not Clostridium or any of these guys. These guys are only hungry little people that know what food they're designed to eat. We don't understand the food they're designed to eat or what they're even here for, half the people. They say these byproducts can cause, whatever that is, and whatever that is, disruption in my brain, forbid my beneficial bacteria to transform vitamins. For example, I have very high beta-carotene, 1500, but low vitamin A, 41. Neurotransmitters and cause overall gut wall destruction and malabsorption. Well, you know what causes gut wall destruction and malabsorption? The lymph system itself. Bacteria doesn't destroy the wall, it destroys the acids. But again, you know, you're highly saturated there, who knows? I mean, it's just a mess. But the inflammation is not bacterium. The inflammation is acidosis. And that's what you've got to get out of there. And that is tied to your kidneys and adrenals. It'd be interesting if your blood work was all right. Look at your creatinine. What was your bun and creatinine? Bun shows you what level of protein you're eating right now. And if you're eating a raw diet, your bun should be 4 or 5. If you're eating moderate protein, about 10 to 12 to 14, and if you're eating a high amount of protein, you'll be up in the 20s. You want 4 or 5. Now the creatinine, you don't want above 0.5. So see where you are, but you'll find your trouble in your kidneys. They prescribed me antibiotics again, causing thrush, of course. They don't stop, guys. They don't stop with this bullshit. They don't stop. But it didn't cure anything for that moment. Also, I have very bad headaches, pressure in my forehead. Holy crap, honey. I'm telling you, this pressure in the forehead, this pressure, you don't want that. You're not going to be a happy girl then. You have to deal with this the right way. I'm glad you wrote this in here because you need to understand this. I try to eat more raw. Bought your botanicals recently. Upper Circ worsens my headaches. You want to get your kidneys, adrenals, lymphatics, GI tract. Forget about the upper circulation right now if you want. You want to get this moving out of here. You have to work on your neurolymphatic points, do hydrotherapy, hot and cold on your head. Get your kidneys filtering, dear one, because if you don't, there's no getting well. Haven't you noticed that? And then you'll have to have resections, and then it could be like the person they want to remove the whole colon. Nope. They got to send me on a clinical trial for fecal transplant. I hope you just tuned into this site. I hope you haven't been watching these videos for a long time and allow them to do this. But I thought about something recently. What do you think about water fasting, then replenish with probiotics? I think water fasting would be a good idea, but if you haven't detoxed before, sweetheart, don't. Too strong, too fast. Get on a kidney formula, get on an adrenal formula, get on a lymphatic formula, get on a GI tract formula, get on a parasitic formula. That'll take care of your parasites for you in the positive way. You know, and start detoxifying yourself. Get on a raw food diet. If you have to do greens, but try to get up into your fruits, your berries, and your melons. And look at the rest of the videos and show you how you do this. You've got to do this right. This is a lymph system problem, not a bacterium problem. Bacteria is understood to be around us at all times. You don't have to worry about that. What you have to fix is your culturing medium that you keep culturing in. No one's talking about you about that. That's why I use the expression, they work at the ass end of the donkey to the head. That's just what you're doing. You're talking about working at your ass end, putting fecal implants and stuff like that, and you're not even focusing on the real problem. So if you don't focus on the real problem, your life's going to be hell right along down that road. Fecal implants today, urine therapy tomorrow, more antibiotics the next day, now steroids this day. Pretty soon you get yourself so messed up, hard to get you back out of that. Somebody's going to have to pull you back out of this one of these days if you don't stop. And you better find someone good. Could that help? No. My father is an MD and desperate too. I am very weak. Well, you can let him view this video. He might get pissed off, but I don't care. Let him view this video. But you have to deal with the lymph system and your culturing medium, and that's what you're not doing. And you can fight. We see this problem, guys, every day of the week. We see this problem. I've seen this problem every day of the week for 45 years. And if you don't handle it the right way, I can tell you straight away what's going to happen to you. You can't follow your dad's thinking. So your dad, if you're your dad, you got to realize we have a better answer. Look at the lymph system, how we teach it. Even if you look at your brother's lymphologist and the fact of the lymph system, get with that. Understand acidosis, that lymph deals with acids from the cells, and this is interstitial. I'll put it in a cute kind of way. This is interstitial lymphatic constipation. And that you don't want, because that is a buildup of acids interstitially, and that breeds inflammation. Well, that breeds what? Cholesterol, calcium, and edema. Those three problems. Not only that, but when it's in the gut wall, you have malabsorption. You can just go right on down the line, no matter what wall it's in. But here's the problem. It can't just be in your gut wall, because this is a systemic problem. Your lymph system is a systemic fluid. This is the body's sewer system, the great sewer system. Remember, they keep finding new parts of this. So you have to understand, they haven't found the part to the kidneys. It's coming. But understand, your kidneys or skin are the eliminative organs of your lymphatic system. And when you understand that and use that, and understand the adrenals on top of the kidneys controls that as well, and you work on those, excuse me, you're going to be successful. When you address the proper system, you will be totally successful. It's a given. You can't get remedy addressing that over there when the problem's over here. And that's what you're doing. But you're doing it through medical thinking. And medicals do not understand the lymph system. And they'll just get you in more trouble, more trouble, more trouble. And the natural health people are not much better. No offense. Beat my own family up. Not just medical. Our field is just as stupid. Feel very confused, can't do nothing, give up studying. You know what? Honey, you can fix this. It's real easy. Then you can get back to your engineering. This is not a difficult case or problem. You're attacking it totally wrong. That's why it becomes a bigger problem and a bigger problem and a bigger problem. And it will become an even bigger problem if you don't listen. Because when you start burning down your bowel walls, you're going to have some serious problems. And after years of inflammation or acidosis interstitially in the gut wall, not good. And of course, on top, you're going to have malabsorption. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, the things you can have. You know what the best thing to do is? Why don't you pull a picture of your eyes, Take a look. See if you have sulfur. You're used to using antibiotics all the time. Your dad's an MD. But look at the sulfur that can build up in your gut wall. That's another problem. So you want to look at that and make sure you don't have any orange around your pupil. Because if you have thick orange around your pupil, you have something even bigger of a problem. And that's the use of sulfa drugs, antibiotics. And they love to accumulate interstitially. So now you've got a beast of a whole nother color. A lymph system that is suppressed highly by sulfa and high fungus. I lost a sense of time, my intelligence, my feelings, and everything. Well, if you'll hang on there, I'll fix it. I'll help you fix yourself. I'll call in and get an appointment with one of the girls. Listen, the girls have fixed these people all day long, guys. All day long. I mean, when Marcy can get a 23-centimeter tumor out of a liver, come on. This is Rena Kim. I am 20 years old and have never been officially diagnosed, but from my own internet research, I have deducted that the itchy hives I get look exactly like cold. I never could pronounce this correctly. But anyway, however, hives appear without a specific pattern. Sometimes it's cold, but other times it's only wind or even food. The only thing that soothes the itchiness is hot bath, or generally covering myself and getting warmer. I am a great admirer of your service too. Oh, thank you. Well, you know, the cold definitely can stir up things. Just like going on fruit. You know, you go on fruit, you're going on cold. So it just stirs up everything because it's base. And so base, of course, stirs up acids because here's your osmosis, so to speak, you know. So all I can say is that, you know, hives, lichen, plantus, I mean, I can just go down a long line of things like this, including all your skin issues like psoriasis and eczema, and just keep on going. These are all lymphatics. Remember, the skin is an eliminative organ of the lymph system. So you just keep working on your lymph system. And you just keep digging in and getting your kidneys to filter. You remember the filtration of the kidneys? Remember how you see the sewage in the urine? And you want to go down that road because it's the only road to Wellville. And so you really want to get there and get this done. You know, you're 20 years old. So you know immediately, Rena, with 20 years old, you had kidney and adrenals. You can just take that to the bank. And even if you didn't have that bad and you had a good constitution, they always need help. So you always want to get your adrenal glands up. At 20 years old, most people have real low blood pressure. So you want to work on that. Your kidneys, you know, working with the skin, elimination that way. Clean your liver out, clean your GI tract out, of course, and all that skin will clear right up. Urticaria. I would go that way. That's the only way any of you guys with skin problems, anything like that's going to clear up. If you address this like it's a disease and you're going to treat it, you see where all the people have done. And if anybody can teach anything, it's all you guys with skin problems what not to do. Because most of you have had just what I'm reading. You've had years of steroids, antibiotics. Some of you have had some bad drugs. Bad drugs. Remember, we had a YouTuber killed himself over using the, what was it? That felt like it was cutting him inside. It felt like cut glass. You know, it's just sad stuff that there's pharmaceuticals out there that at this level that can do things like that to you. When really the problems are more simple than all this. This whole concept of disease crap and all this kind of stuff. Listen, physics and chemistry rule this plane. And it's cause and effect. Always cause and effect. Always. So when you see something, there's always an effect to that, no matter what it is. Whatever action you see, there's a cause to that. Whatever effect you see, there's a cause to that. So you have to just look at all that and realize cause and effect. If you want to play in the fields of acids and acid-forming foods and dead foods, then you're going to pretty much see where humans are right now. If you're going to go on living foods like all the other animals are, and you're going to realize that chemistry and energy are the key factors of health and wellness, and that we are a frugivorous species, we are a primate species, and therefore we are eating wrong foods. When we change that, we get our wellness. To prove it to you, we get our wellness. Look at all the success you're seeing on the YouTubes. All the people that are finally getting their remedies. Some early on, some is taking a while. But you've seen MS get up and walk at 7 months. You've seen a paraplegic up in 6 months. You've seen all kinds of things. Now, we haven't put a lot on there in terms of testimonials, because we've told you that big fear. I think the FDA shut down one place for doing it and threatened a bunch of others. See, I'm done living under that kind of threat. So we're just waiting and building up our facts and stuff, all our proofs, and we're going to have some fun in the future, because this planet has to open and breathe a little bit, so we just have to get it to breathe a little bit. I've got time for some more. I hope this is not getting too long. It's kind of my Friday, or my Friday is Monday, I guess. I worked hard all weekend. I've got a new chart coming out to show you the God worlds in full color and how the worlds are put together. I have a new chart on, like this one. This is from the Natural Hygienic people, but I've always wanted my own done properly, so I finally put it together this weekend. I put a lot together in level 2. I'm adding advanced endocrinology. I'm adding some advanced stuff in there that I think that it's time we get into. So it'll be fun. But I'm so busy, I just can't have time to do all this stuff. When I come in a door, I catch myself going out the same door. This physical world wasn't meant to move very fast. When you've been out of body, you're used to the speed of the mind and the speed of consciousness. The physical side is just so slow. This is Monica. What do long-term raw vegans need to be careful of if receiving allopathic care, such as dentistry or emergencies? Well, I'll say this. This is a good question, Monica. I love that question. Pharmaceuticals. You have to be real careful with pharmaceuticals. You all saw the video with Roger Liepart, the quad. He was a C4, C5 quad. When I first met him, he was a detective, but he also had his own radio show. He invited me on as a guest, and as soon as our show was over, he said, "How would you like to do a show with me together as a team?" I said, "Ooh, I like that." So we did a couple of years down here as a team. But I ran out of money to help him get well, and I told you the story before, and so I had no money. I went into bankruptcy, I had no money, and he, miracle guy. I mean, he made Fox News. I mean, you saw the x-rays on the leg and the back, and it's just amazing. What his body did to pull itself straight, any chiropractor would go, and osteopath should go, whoa, whoa. Totally cool, because Fox News goes, we can't believe what we're seeing. They go, well, I can't believe that. That's pretty cool. But he went back eating some meat. He worked at a mall at the police department, and he started eating at Chick-fil-A, started eating his meat again. Well, then, being a quad, you get the UTIs, you get your stuff like that. Well, got a little UTI from that, of course. And when you've been on all raw for a year, and then you go back to eating dead animals and stuff, you're going to have some serious problems. So that's what he did. And, of course, his infectious disease doc, a semi-friend of mine, put him right back on vancomycin. Of course, when you're a quad, you're going to end up on vancomycin. And he put him right on vancomycin, killed him right off. So all I can tell you is you want to be real careful about pharmaceuticals. This isn't candy, and you want to be real careful. And antibiotics, real bad. Cipro, look at Cipro, fatal events all over the place. You want to just be real careful with antibiotics, steroids, pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals. If you need a surgery, you need a surgery, but you want to be real careful about pharmaceuticals. Emergencies are emergencies, but you want to be real careful. Most of you can handle almost any emergency except if you get in a car accident or something like that, of course, trauma, real bad trauma. But most of you can fix anything that's a physical type, pain type emergency or anything like that. Particularly with regards to drugs which doctors may administer, and that's just what I'm talking about. And I don't know, you have your depends what you're in the ER for. I mean, it depends what stat need you're in there for, that sort of thing. But I would say, in terms of what I'm aware of, antibiotics would be your most scariest things to worry about. Steroids, I mean, if you were to take a minor steroid, if you had a real bad problem at the same time, but you're on raw, so you wouldn't really need one. The only thing I can see a raw food is entering that's if they fixed everything in their body. If you're eating raw food and you haven't fixed things, you could still have problems. So it depends, but it's a real good question. I'm sure there's a list of pharmaceuticals a mile long I could probably go after and that. So I'll just say her question is important in the sense that even those of you that are already on these programs, if you end up in the ER for some reason or another, which there's no sin in that, if these were real smart people in these ERs, they would stabilize you and help you on your path, and they'd help us too, but they're not. They believe in diseases and that sort of thing, so you're treated with pharmaceuticals and stuff. Now, given most ERs are definitely for emergencies and stuff, and so some of those you have to do. Some of those you have to do. But keep in mind, it's kind of like a heart attack. I showed you the neurolymphatic points. Well, not even that. These are the reflexology points for the heart on your left hand and your left foot. I pulled 3 people out of cardiac arrest just with that. Without any epi or any chest compressions or air, all I did was turn on the heart through the nervous system. And I pulled 3 people out of cardiac arrest. 1 in Cracker Barrel. So I'm just having to say that there's a lot of other things that we can use instead of always chemicals. But if you're down, you got to trust these guys, I guess. And dosages, holy crap, I couldn't even begin to tell you. You're asking for a lot in that. I couldn't tell you because pain meds, I don't know what to tell you about pain meds. They're doing better with the narcotics in the sense, but they realize if they add acetaminophen, say about 300 milligrams of acetaminophen to, say, an oxy or something like an opiate, it takes out the pain a lot better, and you have to have the less opiate. So that's good. So I don't know, but then acetaminophen damages your liver. So holy crap. I think that the morphine sulfates, those are real bad. Any sulfur is bad, but morphine sulfate, once you get on morphine sulfate, if you're advanced, it's hard to get back. Because once you compromise your nervous system, you need your nervous system. That's why you see me put people on brain and nerve. I like to turn on the nervous system, which then respectively turns on your other body parts. Anesthetics and stuff like that, I don't know how to tell you about that, because if you've got to go under, that's been my biggest fear too. Propofol and all this Michael Jackson effect and stuff. These are all neurotoxins. So, and I've told you stories of post surgeries of ending up with type 1 and women losing their periods and stuff just from the neurotoxic effect upon the endocrine glands. But I have to say this, in all defense of allopathy, we need surgeries, we need emergency rooms, we need all this. There's no question about it. And I love the state-of-the-art stuff. We're growing out of the dark ages. But there's a part of allopathy that is very dark agey and believes in the ass end of the donkey. So there's a lot of stuff in allopathy that's ridiculous, that it just goes nowhere, has truth not even a part of it. These are hypotheses or theories that in chemistry that don't hold any water. Because it doesn't even match observed actions and reactions. So, some of the hypothesis doesn't match up with the reactions and actions that you see, too. So there's just a lot of that. And you don't need all that. And health is very simplistic, guys. You don't need to have years under a microscope and in the field. You don't need that. It's easy to get people well. Very easy to get people well. So if you take that simplistic approach, and when you need to use the allopathy, they're there for that. But they're going through their own problems because they've used toxic fatal event drugs. And when you do that to treat people's problems, not emergencies, they're problems, you can kill a lot of people and you hurt a lot of people. So that part of it has to terminate. That part obviously has to change. That's because if we're doing something like a naturopathy, which a lot of people don't coin naturopathy much, they coin naturopathic medicine or naturopaths. They need to change. They're recommending high-protein diets. You recommend high-protein diets in a cancer case, you ought to have your head looked at. That's a big problem. And some are recommending colostrum because they have no experience with these things. And you don't recommend colostrum when you've got tumors or they'll just grow. So there's a lot of things that's immaturity out there. What power can we raw foodists and fruitarians have over influence and uneducated physicians of the care required around a super clean body? I like how you think. Good question. It depends on the allopath and whether they're narcissistic their ego is way out of line or not. Some of the younger guys are a lot better. They're nicer. They're easier to talk with. They're more down to earth. Some of these guys are way out there. And I don't know what to tell you. It's enough to say that they need to be educated. And you're right on. I remember my first kidney stone was in Ohio. I was on a trip. Did a bad thing as a fruitarian for years, and bad time, dead of winter, bad food in the middle of the night, just bad, and spasmed my kidneys and caused the stone to pop. Soon I realized I had kidney stones. And so I called down here to this organic grove that I was eating oranges out of, and I said, I need 3 bushels overnight, please. And so I had them juice me fresh oranges, and all I did was suck down fresh squeezed navel orange juice while the RN's just yelling at me upside and one down the other. She's giving me hell all kinds of ways. She said, you just can't eat that. I said, oh, yes, I can. And I'm trying to explain some of what, now that I know what it is, about acids and some things, because back then I didn't know a lot. I'm a raw foodist, but I read the natural hygienic people, and then I'm getting into fruitarian or Carrington and things, and go, oh, this is even better still. It's just one step on top of another, stepping stone to Wellville, And I was lucky I had a Korean physician, medical doctor. And after a while, and he walked in one day, and the nurse was giving me all kinds of crap, and I looked at him, and he looked at her, and he says, he knows totally how to get rid of this. He's doing just fine, leave him alone. And I looked at that nurse and went, see? Because when you wake up to this, you're detoxing. You're on a detox. You don't sit there and eat steak and potatoes and everything else like maybe the dietitian would send you. And then I passed it right there in the hospital. Didn't need to have it taken, thank you, God. And boom, I'm done. And I've done that ever since. So I think it's, sweetie, it's getting down your verbiage too. It's spending some time talking out loud to the trees, to whatever animals will listen, and getting this huge mind of you guys, getting that working through the mouth. Because you can see so much more than you can verbalize. Do you ever know that? Do you ever give a talk, maybe a little talk of something, and it didn't come out like you wanted to? You saw everything you wanted to say, but it just didn't come out the way you wanted it to? It takes practice. It takes a lot of practice. So you want to just play with that. I've given a lot of talks to the trees, to the sand beaches, and to the water, to seagulls and stuff. Get that verbiage out and learn how to talk to a GP, a general practitioner. Say, I'm on raw foods. And more people are learning about raw foods. So if it's someone you can talk to, you'll be able to talk to them. If not, you'll know it right off. and then you'll know where you can go with it. But you can also claim that, I have a very healthy body inside, blah, 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 blah. This is if you had a trauma, and that my body can't handle antibiotics and stuff like that. You're the boss, and you just have to tell them what you want and what you don't want, and then let them talk to you about whatever they see, and weigh that out. You bring up some good stuff, Monica. I like everything you're saying here, and I go, this is good stuff, and it's right on. A lot of people find themselves in these situations. And I would, if you're in there not from trauma and you're in there from your lifestyle, then you want to explain the lymph system and what you need help with. Because, and if you don't know, then you just don't know. I would say the most important thing is ask for digital x-rays and stuff as much as you can. Anything digital would be good. Of course, your dietitian, you're going to talk to them. If you have to stay, you're going to say, I want raw food, I want fruit. Get fruit in a hospital. Oh, that ought to be interesting. I mean, there was one. We have 3 hospitals in this area. One was a 7-day Adventist, and I worked at that one as well. And that was the best place I could eat because they didn't serve meat in the cafeteria. You could get it on the floor, though. How about that? You could get it on the floor. Yeah. Who pays gets what they want, right? Instead of sticking to your principles. 7-day Adventists, they have it down, or vegetarians, stuff like that. So, they Loma Linda stuff, but still a bunch of crap food and stuff, but still, it's a little better. But they had a big salad bar in this hospital. That's, yeah. The 2 other hospitals, not so good. Not so good. Yeah, everybody leaves the hospital to eat. How funny is that? Also, what steps can we take in buffering any inevitable drugs? I don't know what to tell you about that one. I'll say this about that. That is, if you find yourself in that situation and you were given some bad drugs, detox them out as soon as you can. Stay on raw while you're in the hospital. Just realize that the raw and the herbs, if you have friends that bring in you the herbs, all that will help balance and buffer and you'll be okay. It's not that big a deal, but it can be. It can be life-threatening. So I just say ask, talk. Make sure you know what they're giving you. They'll say, well, we're just going to give you this. What is it? What's the side effects? Why are you giving it to me? Why do I need it? That sort of thing. Always ask why. But Monica, you have some good questions. Good questions. I can't pronounce your name. Faisal. I apologize, but I cannot pronounce that name. I hope you are well, and I hope you are well too, or soon to be that way, huh? I've noticed that I feel a significant amount of pain in my right upper quadrant if I consume too many herbs at once or too frequently. You might be getting a little liver kick. You might be giving a little liver kick there, so you might want to buffer those. You could let them set out for about a half hour, not the alcohol come off of them. You could put them in grape juice. You could put a little bit of aloe vera there to buffer that a little bit. And you could break your dosages down into 3 or 4. Also, I would recommend you eat them on food. That you take them on food. You're going to be on fruit diets and vegetable diets anyway, so I don't care if you take the herbs with food. Except the GI broom, you can take your herbs on food. Might do you a little better there. Because in the right quadrant, I'm going to suggest that that's probably liver gallbladder. Possible. Could be colon too. Put your eyes and see if you can see anything, any lacunas or anything in the liver gallbladder or anything like that. If you got recent blood work, let's see if your liver enzymes are elevated, anything like that as well. That's another thing in this level 2. We're going to take time and explain to you blood work, how to read blood work. I'm assuming it's my liver. Yeah, I'm assuming it's my liver which is being overburdened. It's possible. But I have babies on these. I think what it does suggest is that you might have a little liver inflammation or something, or a gallbladder, so you want to kind of look at that. But like I say, you can buffer these real easy with, get some fresh aloe or some aloe gel or juice in a health food store, or you can get grape juice to buffer it in. Cut down your dosages, make them smaller dosages, that sort of thing. Do those sort of things. And do take them on food, that helps too. But I think I would take the liver gallbladder formula because You wouldn't feel these herbs, even the alcohol in them, if your liver was real healthy, because no one, I mean, this alcohol has been merged with chemistry so much it's nutritive, so it's not like you just go in the store and buying alcohol. But you're right on. I think you're right on with this. You guys are smart as all get out. To really, it'll all lead you all down a good road, because you'll be able to help so many people going through the same things, because we all go through the same things. It's just location, 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 which is just genetics, 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 which is just, you can go back into your family and where you're from and all this sort of thing. Do all herbs contain toxic elements? I don't know how to answer that, because what's healthy in chemistry, what's healthy as a whole, isolating each of its parts then can be toxic as individual parts. So you can't say that all things have toxins in them from one viewpoint, but then you can say everything has toxins in them from a viewpoint. Because I don't care what you have, you can find arsenic in apple seeds, all kinds of things. How many people are juicing apple seeds? So you can find all kinds of gnarly chemistry out there. As a rule, it's buffered. So when you're having plants and your fruits and everything like that, because vegetables are just herbs, guys. They're just not, they're hybrid herbs. So herbs aren't toxic unless you isolate. I'll say some of your stronger chemistry is your alkaloids and tannins. Your alkaloids are for the liver, your tannins for your kidneys. And that's they'll beat you up every time. Iced tea got me real bad. The tannins, of course, hit my kidneys, and alkaloids, of course, hit your livers. So by themselves, an alkaloid can kick your hiney. This is why pharmaceuticals kick heinies. The same herbs don't. That's why comfrey doesn't hurt you, although they want to take it off the market because of the alkaloids. It's like, excuse me, we aren't children out here. All right, and we don't need Mr. Government telling us what to do and what not to do and what to eat and what not to eat. Sorry, go take a hike. But that's the sort of thinking that they have. And if you've got an alkaloid in something, it's buffered. But again, if you take a pharmaceutical, like particularly a diet pill that's high alkaloids, kick your butt. So that's the difference in the isolate versus the buffered. And that's why I like nature in that way. All these things are nature. It's a big difference. There are poisonous herbs. No question. There's poisonous plants out there. There's no question about that. We don't use those in herbology, but there are poisonous plants, as there's something bad everywhere you turn. But in nature, what's poison to one is food to another. Do you notice that? You ever watch these nature shows long enough? What's poisonous to one thing is food for another. It's amazing. I've been looking into liver cleansing and came across people using coffee enemas for this purpose. Absolutely no. It's easy to clean the liver, guys. The liver gallbladder herbs are beautiful on this planet. The barbarous family, the Oregon grape roots, the yellow docks, burdock. What a sweet herb burdock is. So burdock, incredible right there for multiple purposes, from skin to blood to liver. I mean, burdock is incredible, to tumors, things like this. So these herbs are great. High in iron. All these herbs are high in iron. They're just all good for the liver and cleansing herbs and stuff. You don't need to get bizarre with coffee enemas. Now you're talking about chemistry that can innervate, overstimulate and innervate. So no. Not good. And you can do a simple liver gallbladder flush with oils and a little grapefruit juice. We have a very simple gallbladder flush. Don't use salt waters or any crap like that compromises your kidneys and your hydrations and all this, and your coffee enemas, which flatly can make you innervated big time, causing major constipation, liver irritation. That's not how you do things. Not how you do things. A good raw food fruit diet will clean the liver and gallbladder beautifully. Plus, what are you trying to clean in the liver gallbladder? What's the liver gallbladder made of? Cells, interstitial spaces, and two fluids. So what are you trying to clean? The lymph system. Nothing wrong with the blood. It's the lymph system. See where I'm going at? When you know the human body, then you can understand things a little more. And what you have is organs and glands and pathways to them for blood, nerve, and lymph. That make sense? Like the planets in the sky hanging, and then you have light that connects them all. It is said that coffee enemas provide the liver with a substantial amount of glutathione, thereby supporting liver detoxification. I think people that claim that crap is full of crap. And I think that, you know, this whole thing around glutathione and all that is just crap. I see all these people on it. How many people walk to Wellville with it? You see what I'm saying? You're talking about a whole system down when you have inflammation. And here you got people playing with this chemistry game again. It's a no-brainer, and it takes people nowhere. You know, and it keeps you suffering longer, that's for sure. So life is much simpler than all the intellectualism that's out there. And the glucothiones and in the, you can just go on deeper into all this kind of stuff. Like the fructose. I mean, sometimes it's just disconcerting, you know, because you have to be careful not to get lost like you were. And you just don't want to get lost again in a field of dreams that lead nowhere. The mind leads you into fields of dreams and nowhere. These people think they know exactly how the body works, and they don't know at all how the body works. You just get to one intellectual dig into another, because if you haven't noticed, in life, when you use the mind, there's always plus factors. In research, we don't know crap. And when you start looking at it, you start realizing we don't know crap in research. But now we discovered nano levels, and suddenly they're the cause of all diseases. It's your nanobacterium and your nano problems. You see what I'm saying? It just keeps going and going and going and going. If you fall into that type of thinking, you lose yourself again. And if you lose yourself, then you get to Hellville again. It's just keep yourself simple. Keep yourself awake. Keep yourself aware. Just like Monica said, know how to tell people no. And what you put in your body is coming into your world. Do you want something coming into your world that can hurt you? Then you be aware of what you're putting into your world, because you're the driver of your car. If you haven't realized that yet, it's time you do, because you'll spend a long time here on this planet if you don't. Just saying. Justin. Hello, Dr. Morris. Thank you so much for taking the time to make these videos. You're welcome. I'm just apologize to you all that I can't get to you like I would love to. You have so many beautiful questions. I could sit here for days and days and days. I started losing my hair a few years ago. After some research, I figured out there was some kind of tissue under the scalp that is causing the loss. Hear, hear. And I would say to you, take that scalp off and put on a new one. I'm certain it's a lymph fluid, and you're right on, my friend. And that Justin, that's what makes you smarter up there. Something under there? Yeah, we got cells and two fluids. Take your pick. Which one's causing the problems? Well, isn't the cells causing the problem? It's the ones getting beat up by the problem. Agreed? Okay, so now it's not a cell problem, so that means there's only two fluids you have to look at. Is this a blood problem? You could get poor blood circulation to hair follicles. That's possible. If that was the case, why? What system or what would have to happen to be able to create ischemia, or the withdrawal of blood, or the trickling of blood to tissue, the reduced flow of blood to tissue? What possibly could cause that? That would have to be a swelling or an obstruction of the vascular, right? Of the blood vessels itself, right? Okay, so what do we got here now? We got blood vessel walls where we have single cells. We've got a lymph system there, of course, don't we? Because waste have to be removed from the cells. So we have everything there that we would have anywhere else. Anywhere else. And where does cholesterol plaque? Not on the artery, in the artery wall, right? Right. So when you start to realize that all we have everywhere is cells and two major fluids, and then when you have a symptom, it has to be either with the cell or the two fluids affected the cell. Well, we can rule out blood pretty much for all of that. And we can go right to the sewer system where all the acids are. That, if you go there 98% of the time, you will be 100% accurate and correct in your focus. And with that, you will be 100% successful. So, what's all this sinus problem and all this stuff people have? All this mucus? This is the lymph system. Remember, certain proteins are mucus-forming proteins. Dairies, meats, things like this. So, if you're losing your hair, you're getting more acidic interstitially. And you're losing, if you are losing any blood to hair follicles, it's only because of the lymph system blocking that. So, you have to fix your lymph system. Now, you can use upper circulation to kind of cheat a little and get more blood aggressively to that hair follicles. That'll start changing your hair color and putting hair on baldness. But you also want to take care of the system that's causing this, right? And that's your lymphatic system. And that's important because when you start losing this, it is not that many years from, honey, where'd I park the car? I'm just saying. I want to tackle this head on and get my head draining. Yeah, that's a smart dude because you got to. Because again, here's head pressures, hair losses, dementia, Alzheimer's, eye problems of all kinds. I mean, you see where I'm going with all this? This baby is important. So you want to keep this clean. The problem is it sits on top of a very dirty, genetically weak GI tract in 99% of everybody, and on set of genetically weak kidneys and adrenals like nobody's business. So we've got some serious weaknesses that we have to overcome, as well as trash pickup. But I love you guys are so right on. I love you guys. I've watched your questions over the years and your own self-analysis, and you guys are beautiful. You guys are so good. I love you guys. You guys are learning and good. You can't take this education away from you guys now. You guys are getting it. And this is just good, 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 because then you won't be chasing dreams off into side roads that'll take you way out into no-no land. Come back. You know, get on that road to Wellville, and you'll hit Wellville, and you'll be so happy you did. And by the way, then, of course, on that road is a lot of other places to go. Yep, you got it, man. You got it. You got the focus. You're right on. I get you. I hear you. I hear you coming. I also love that you are bringing consciousness awareness. You're my fan. Thank you, my friend. I felt you anyway, Justin. Felt you anyway. I think you already knew that, didn't you? I do too. I love the consciousness part of it. It's my favorite. There's so much suffering in the physical side of this, but there's a suffering in the spiritual side of this too. This is a very suffering spiritual planet. You know, people running around with toy guns that shoot real bullets. I mean, it's like, oh my God, what are we doing? It's an interesting level to be at. That's all I gotta say. And hard sometimes when you're familiar with other levels of creation, and this one in particular. It's hard to want to stay on this rock. Hey, John. This is from John. John is a 15-year-old male. Hey, John. Thanks for writing me, John. You may remember me from my last question. Look at that. I do remember you, John. 15 years old. You know what? I admire you, John. You got my heart, John. When a 15-year-old man writes me, that's a pretty aware young man. And after taking your advice, I have almost fixed my severe acne. Good, 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 good. Just remember, I keep reading them, don't I? And that's because it's all over the place. So you keep going with this acne here. You keep going with your lymph system. If you see bouts of getting up and going down, okay. You might see some expressions coming and going a little bit here and there. Okay, keep digging in, John, and you'll be done with this. And as you get up there, you won't have to worry about the girls or nothing because you're going to look good. And you got a lot of answers to life's questions about health that no one else has. And at 15 years old, son, you have pulled your body, you're pulling your body back to Wellville. Not too many can say that. So, John, I've gotten my kidneys to filter. Yeah! This is a 15-year-old lad, guys. And I'm currently on a 2-week grape fast, followed by a week-long lemon water fast. This is a 15-year-old lad. Yeah! You need to be the poster child, son, for what 15-year-olds need to do. Everybody needs to do. My tongue is white. Whoa. They have tongue scrapers. I have a friend, and she had a big tumor wrapped around her aorta. Well, they went in to biopsy the tumor, cut her vocal cords in half. So she talks a lot like this. So I hired her. I got the tumor out of her, and then I hired her to answer our telephones, to strengthen up that voice box. People got a little mad at me, but, you know, I'm kind of a weirdo anyway. And I wanted to strengthen her up, and what better way to answer our phones, you know, and made her project and develop that vocal cord. Still has some problems with it, but she's one of those who'll do real, she'll kick all our butts in raw. She'll be so strict she can't even squeak. Then she'll go totally the other way and go eat pies, a whole pie in one setting. It's like, whoa. So it's one of those that flips from one side to the other side. And she can take her tongue scraper, and this stuff is nasty, like whipping cream. Yeah, that's the condition of your GI tract. Come in, ladies. Come in, ladies. No, come in. Is this going to be another one? I know. We talked.
That's the one that I showed you earlier. She sent me more pictures.
Huh?
That's the one I showed you earlier. She
Yeah,
sent me
it
more
is the one.
pictures.
Oh, wow. These are nice.
So you can see.
Can we show them on YouTube?
She didn't answer that yet.
She didn't answer that.
No.
This incident took place the second week of October 2014 when during a session of bursting firecrackers, one firecracker had shot back and hit my eye. Yeah, it looks like it. Holy crap. The cracker was placed about 5 to 10 meters away, and I had shut my eyes before it had hit. Therefore, hitting the left eyelid, I had complete loss of vision for about the first 2 days. The doctor at the emergency ward the same night said that my eye was swollen and therefore was needed to wait a week before they reduced the sudden pain. Where's he at now? At the moment, I can currently see any big objects or letters.
He's on 80% raw.
And he's 80% raw?
A few of the herbs. His aunt is a local distributor of ours.
Is she? Mm-hmm. Did they go in and do something with this eye? Because it looks like they surgically did something.
They're telling him that he needs to, or it's going to get worse. But he is a little bit further down in that writing right there. He explains where he doesn't want to listen to the doctors. He wants to listen to his aunt's advice with the diet.
There has been an improvement since, let me see here. However, I do have a great problem in regular reading in alphabets. It said there has been an improvement since the day it has happened, however, compared to how my left eye was. Yeah, but he hasn't been doing this level of work on himself. So once he does, I think you'll see that all improved there.
He's
I think
just started the herbs.
Yeah, I think with the raw eye tissue, like we talked about, the raw eye tissue using the eye wash and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I don't think, we're not mentioning any names, I think we can show the eye.
Let me see.
Can you see it?
Focus.
When I do that, can you see it pretty good?
Yep.
Okay. So you can see here the damage to the eye there. And you see that big bout of cholesterol right there? That's from all the inflammation. But it'll lead to a cataract covering this whole eye, and if they don't do anything.
That's what they were telling him.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that before, you know, stuff like that. But if he uses the eye wash and does all this, mm-hmm. you know, he's gonna. I mean, they might be able to fix his pupil. Whether they need to do that or not, I don't know. But I don't see any parathyroid weakness too much. Did you guys look for that? Look on his right eye when you do and see if there's a parathyroid weakness. But I would hit the parathyroid like we were talking about anyway. Wow. Well, again, you know, there's the other parts we talked about to work on. Yeah, okay. Good deal. Look at that. That's a pretty wild picture. Yeah, that's pretty wild. That'll be fun. He'll get his vision back.
Yep.
That'll be fun. It'll be a good case. You want me to keep this?
Yep.
Okay. I'll have it here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Yeah, we get all kinds here, poor lad. But we'll be able to get his vision back completely for him. We'll be able to keep that from growing over that, closing off that vision completely. And then you can see where this lad has to fix some things. This lad's got big time kidneys, big time stuff. So he's got to fix a few things, but it's fun to help people. It's fun to see people get well and to feel good, you know. For those out there that have any negative connotation, lose it. Lose all negativity. If you're one of those people that are negative first, change yourself. Change yourself and be a positive person first. Always look at the good of things, because it'll always keep you in that positive way. People don't realize when you always see the bad first, you're always working from an aberrant or an aberrated type of sense or an irritation, as opposed to when you're positive, and you just, you know, because nothing ever is settled being negative. You just work things out, and we can work any case out as best we can. And if there's anyone can work it out, we all can, because we have the best tools. We've got tools. We've got herbs. We do have, I know a lot of you know, but we have glandulars. Now, when you have an eye damage like that, a raw eye tissue helps to accelerate that healing. That would be important. So there's a lot of things like that, tools that we have that's really, really good to use. And if we need supplements, we got them, but just disagree. I never used them much. Way back when. This young man is going on a grape fast and a lemon juice fast. Young man, John, I admire you. You got my love, John. You got my love, son. My tongue is white, so will the fast plus slippery elm marshmallow root be enough? I don't know. I tell you what, try to get that GI broom in here. If you can afford it, it's only about 15 or 20 bucks, I think. I don't know what it's at, but try to get some GI broom stuff and, you know, clean up the gut there. I'm also wondering of a diet to keep my skin clear after I'm done with the raw. You know what? It'll stay clear. Once you fix your obstruction, and now your kidneys are filtering, this is a big deal, young man. You did good. So once you get that, now check your blood pressures. Make sure your blood pressures on both arms are close to 120/60. Either way, close to that. If not, you might want to work, if they're a little lower on the top, you might want to work on your adrenal glands, so your nervous system and everything will be strong as you grow older. So there's a lot of fun stuff you can do to build yourself and to be strong and healthy. Get a picture of your eyes, John. Take a look at them. 15 years old, easy for you to learn how to read iridology, and boy, you'll be able to show your friends, look at this, I can read your eyes. I can see what's wrong with you inside of you. They'll think you're crazy. But you're a very smart young man. Been mostly raw for the last 8 months. I think a low-fat, whole foods, plant-based diet. Yeah, you know, when you're done with this, get yourself 50% fruits, 50% veggies. I mean, that's pretty good for most people, 50-50. If you can stay away from dead animals, I would. I would highly recommend you stay away from the dairy products. That one is a lymphatic one. But you want to look at your eyes and make sure you want to get a picture right away, because you're doing a lot of work on yourself, positive work on yourself, John. You want to have an eye picture before and watch yourself getting well and how the changes in your eye. They'll show up, and you're doing so well that you should be changing your eye fairly quickly, John. So this is one 15-year-old I admire. John, you got my love. Your parents ought to be proud of you. That's all I got to say. I would be. Oh, here's John again. Oh, this is a repeat question. All right, we got time for one more. Woo! Koldar Knight, 666. Could be interesting. I've been watching Dr. Morse videos for the last few years, and I usually trust what he is saying, but I have to strongly disagree with what he is saying about the ketogenic diet. In order to regain my health, I've tried about 2 years ago a strict fruit diet for 3 months in combo, whatever you wrote. The first 3 months of his Detox Herbs kit. I had the sediment in my urine, but I wasn't getting better. Actually, it was the opposite, and my blood work was worse. It was not a detox reaction. After 3 months of fruit diet, I switched to ketogenic diet, who, by the way, is not a high-protein diet, only have around 80 grams of proteins per day, and that's not high. They only recommend 20, bro, so very high. Anyway, long story short, after about 2 months, my blood work was back to the normal range. I'm not totally out of the woods yet, but I am getting there, just like Dr. Morse always says. Try it and see how you feel. What I did, and for me, the ketogenic diet is giving obvious better results. I don't know. I'd have to look at your case and why you're saying that. I don't follow the ketogenic diet at all. But could be any reason why you didn't get where you wanted to get. When you say your blood work was off, by what means? I do blood work constantly here. I have thousands and thousands of cases, so I have all kinds of blood work here every day, and I've never seen anybody get radical blood work on a good detox diet, except maybe when they're detoxing, their cholesterol might zip up. You might find your creatinine being serious problems. You might find a few things like that, but I've never seen anybody's blood work go crazy on a fruit diet. Never seen that. So you would have to show me more for me to explain to you what's going on and why you didn't have the success you did. Couldn't explain it to you without looking at you and getting more about the story. But if you're happy with that, then I say stay there. Be happy where you are. Conrad. Hi, Dr. Morse. Love your stuff. You really are an inspiration. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. The reason I drove into the whole thing is I found out I had genital herpes a few months ago, and it really was taking a toll on me. I've been on a high-protein diet for most of my life, and this is my first vegan fruit diet I have ever ventured onto. Wow. Well, that's not surprising, man, because I see that all over the place. I mean, I get pro athletes calling me all the time. They're the same way. So I watched some guy today at lunch, and I was at this it's like what's it called? It's like a buffet, but it's got a salad bar and all the other stuff. So here was this guy, and I could tell he was a runner, but he was an older guy. And he was in, I don't know if he was trying out for something, definitely doing something. He definitely was a runner or something. He was porking down the protein like crazy. I was looking at his plate, and I almost said, your kidneys are showing, and I don't know if I would do that, but I didn't do that. But I could tell he was an athlete. And of course, that's the first thing. If you're on a high-protein diet, then herpes is going to stay around a while, isn't it? All virals will. This is the thing, is you got to detox these virals, out of your body and things. I had ventured into it. One thing I wish you would dive into more is talking about cures. Do you mean eventually they would show up negative on a diagnostic test, or just dormant by the way I have an appointment with your clinic? No, you want them off of your blood work. You don't want to have viral loads in the body, and you don't want them dormant. And this is a good question about dormancy. And I've wondered that myself, when things go too dormant, if they don't show up on the blood work at all. And I think that's possible. That is possible, giving you a false sense of curing. That is possible. Well, you can always find out. Dig in, and then just take a week and go on some high protein. You'll find out real quick. You'll find out real quick that way. But check your blood work, because all the diagnostic tools we use, and the blood work is just one of them. When we do an HIV case or an Hep C case, we want that blood work showing no viral loads. And it's going to be the same with the herpes as well. So you want to have clean blood work. When someone has a blood work all over the place, you have to be more specific than that. When this guy was telling me his blood work was all, you have to be more specific, because I'm used to blood work quite a bit. And I can help when you tell me what's up. But, you want this, when I say cure, I mean cured. I don't mean you're in remission. That they use that word for cancer, I suppose. Of course, we don't treat diseases. so that we don't get into the curing of diseases. No one does. Matter of fact, the cure word isn't for diseases. You notice that, right? They get us when we use the cure word, and it's like, that's our word. That's not your word, that's our word. Our word is a cure word, but it's everybody's word. But if you want to divide us up like socialism, you want to divide us up, okay, then you can't use the cure word because there's no such thing in allopathic medicine. There's no such thing as cured. If you're cured of something, it's only because of your own actions and strong constitutions you were able to eliminate the inflammation or whatever out of your body. But in terms of curing diseases, there is no such thing. Now, when someone comes in here and they have tumors and they're diagnosed with cancer and they come out of here without it, people say, oh, he cured cancer. You know, that's a term that we don't use here, and we don't use it just because of the FDA and the medical doctors at all. No, 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 no. We use cure on our own way because we're curing you of your problems, but we don't use diseases here because I don't believe in the concept. I'm a chemist, and I love physics. Of course, that leads on to spirituality and leads you right into consciousness and energy and everything else, though. Why wouldn't I like the sciences? I love science. I think straight A's in chemistry, biology, all that. I love science. When you love a subject, you're going to excel in it. I don't care who you are. If you love a subject, you're going to do well in it. If you don't, you're not going to do well in it. I would not do well in English because I hated it. But I'm a farm boy. I race cars. What would I do with English and typing and stuff? That was then, of course. So, yeah, I think yeah. I mean cure. I mean you want this out. You want all these out of you. These are proteins anyway, and you want all these proteins out of you. People have this protein fetish, and like a guy said, ketogenic diet is 80 grams a day. They only recommend 20 to 40. And that's not very much. Oh, yes, subject. I have been having skin issues since 3 months ago. Eczema on and around mouth, on hand, rash on thigh from scar cream, burnt my leg. 1 month plus now, not going away. Itchiness all over body, occasional bump showing up, even had a rash just now while sitting down. I have pics of all this, not sure how to send it. Yeah, send the pics. We love pics. Docs here don't help much, only gives cream. Yeah, that's hydrocortisone cream and all that. That's just obvious stuff. Cortisol, steroids and stuff. You all have had the skin problems, know where she's going or he's going. Cut out fried junk, sugar, milk already. Tried to eat more fruit, veggies. I poop like once every 4 days. Oh. Well, let's see. I only have a few minutes left. Let me say this about that. No, you don't want to poop every 4 days. So if you poop every 4 days, I'd come in here and I would get my stomach and bowel number 3 or number 5. Number 5 probably be more apropos, but get number 3 too. Get 1 bottle of each, be my suggestion. Start on the number 5, start your diet. Switch your diet over to a raw food diet. Salads at least once a day, and fruit and berries and melons the rest of the time. Start getting your body cleaned up here. Get your kidneys filtering. And if a 15-year-old can do all this, you can too. And so you just go in there and you get your kidneys filtering, you get your adrenal glands up, you clean your bowels out, and you start cleaning up your skin. The same thing. Any scar tissue on that leg should heal itself real nicely if you stay raw long enough. Long enough, I mean over a year. Occasional bumps showing up. Again, that's expressions like hives and stuff. These are pustulas full of liquid, right? That's acid liquid. These are all the lymph system trying to clean itself out of you. That's all it is. Itchiness, full of fungus, of course. And this is typical stuff. And typically when you go on a detox, your skin can explode open. I'm trying to do everything I can to stop that from happening, but it's difficult. Because when you start on this program, and you just only have to just do raw, you don't have to do all fruits. Some people can just do raw and their skin explodes. This is because they're like a ticking time bomb. Everything has been so suppressed inside the little body that you're ready to explode. And once you open the doors, boom, but you work through that. That's where I take the parasite M's. Matter of fact, you might want to go back, my friend, to the first or the second person we were talking to about the skin problems and see what we were talking about there. But you always go after your kidneys, you always go after your adrenals, you always go after your lymph, you always go after the GI tract, and you make sure your glands are working great. That is the bulk of what you need to do. If that's done, those areas done, and that would include the lymph system, you're assured of sitting your nice Cadillac at Wellville. I'm telling you, because that controls literally everything. So that's what I would do, and you definitely don't want to poop every 4 days. You want one bowel movement a day at the very least. So you got to get up. Ours is not laxatives, and I don't recommend laxative, but every 4 days I'd get on our stomach and bowel number 5. By the way, I'd hit my adrenals real hard, and I'd also take brain and nerve. And the reason I'm saying this is you're either constipated neurologically or you have a very bad lymphatic stagnation in your bowel wall, and sulfur, which has made that hardened, and peristalsis is real slow. Couple that with a weak adrenal gland, which is low neurotransmitters, and you got big-time constipation. But you got to fix all that up there. So remember, a constipation can be a neurological event. That's going to be your adrenal glands, but it also can be a thickened bowel wall where the lymph isn't filtering properly, and now you're hardened that lymph, and you have not only malabsorption, but now your gut wall has lost its tone. It's hardened as acids harden tissue, right? And so then you have a harder time with peristalsis. You guys are doing good. Despite the little ups and downs here and there, we do pretty good. You guys have done really, really well. You know, sorry for the people that have trouble with this program. There are some of you that are pretty toxic and you might have some trouble with it initially, but that means you can just back up and do greens or vegetables for a while until you can get enough done to where you can handle fruit and stuff like that. But good ripe fruit. Tree, vine, ripe fruit and berries. There's nothing like the taste, the flavors, the nutrition, and the energy. Far better than greens, things like this. You know, we're trying to eat like horses and elephants when we're into the greens so much. I was watching David Wolf and the Magic Bullet and stuff, you know. Most of his juices was greens. Then he was mixing fruit in with these greens. Now, this is not juice extracted. This is all ground up. The thing is, you still have your pulp there, and he's mixing fruit with veggies. That's a big no-no, and you're going to get a little fermentation with that. So you're going to, especially those of you who are a little healthier, you're going to feel that. For me, I have a wrong combination. I know it immediately. It gets me bad, real bad, so I don't miscombine my foods if I can help it. Love you guys. I'm going to keep trying to give you more and more of these. I know I'm so far behind, but we're getting there. For all you skin people, we've covered a lot of skin issues today, so I hope it helps you all. But I'm proud of you, John. 15 years old, keep going, where you can tell the world you have no more skin problems anymore. You're doing a great job. Keep going till it's all gone, and you're done. Done the rest of your life. And that's the point. Go way past your done time till you're so done, you'll never have to worry about that problem again. Wouldn't that be nice? And you just fixed a system that was down that causes people what they call cancers, tumors and things, the lymphatic system. It's a big deal. So you guys that are doing this, my love to each and every one of you. I'll always be here to help you. And this level 2 ought to be real fun, this one.